Good evening, everybody. Sorry, just a couple minutes late. Just got in. I was taking care of some business. Just drove in. I was going to be a little late, but it's not too bad. Actually, at this point, I'm just, if you don't know, got Mr. Roy de los Santos. He requested to be on to discuss a few things. And apparently some people don't like that. Apparently some people don't like that he's coming on so often. Some have joked and said, "Oh, it's the Erasmo show. It's the Roy de los Santos show." Like, pff. You know what? I don't even care. I don't care what anybody says. People want to speak and say something, they are welcome on my platform. I reached out to Jessica this evening, and whether she'll be available in the next few days or whenever, I don't know. I haven't heard back from her, or don't know if I will. That's fine too. Just an update. I have reached out to Ben Neese. He did respond, and I told him I can work around his schedule, and haven't heard from him since. That was a couple days ago now. And I have still not heard back from Pedro Cardenas. These are both the candidates in runoff for District 4. And I was going to, same deal with them, interview them. And I heard that Mr. Cardenas was not going to do any shows at all, whether that's true or not, or why he would not want to do a show. It's whatever. Just waiting for Roy to get in. Hungry Hippo, hello. Let's get this show started. Hey, good evening. Lori, welcome. Welcome. Hey, Oscar. How you doing there, buddy? Ela, how are you? Hello, Ladybug. Yes, Ben East, that would be. Yes, it would be. I did tell him, this is not the kind of a gotcha show or a setup or a Jerry Springer kind of thing, right? And I did express that to him in case he's afraid of something, or, I did tell him I do want answers on a few things, and people do have questions. So there are some things I'm going to ask, but it's nothing like I'm not trying to put him in a corner or anything. So Ben Neese, if anybody's out there who talks to him or knows him or whatever, again, reach out. I can work around your schedule. I'm not looking to put you in a trick bag or anything like that. So I can work around your schedule. Nadia, welcome. How are you? Roy just messaged. You'll be here in just a few minutes. Be careful with the bug. Careful. Yes, I'm not. It's funny, the noise, the noise that Roy is getting, and then the noise that I get for having him on, and I'll have whoever who wants to come on and have something to say about their candidacy. I will, and whether they want to or not, well, that's a whole other story. So. Shoot the messenger. No, don't. He wants to have something to say. There have been a lot of things put out there he wants to address. So I'm going to let him. Why not? If anybody did, it's actually a good idea. Some people were questioning, why would he do that? I'm like, who wouldn't do that? Who wouldn't? Hey, Betty Rubble. I don't know. He's making himself available for everything to answer anything. If you guys want to ask something, type in your comments and ask. This is your chance. It's always been your chance. He hasn't run from anything. Whether you like people like the answers that he gives or not, the whole other story. But I don't know. In my opinion, hasn't turned his back on anything. That's my opinion. Hey, Rebecca, how are you? Thanks for joining us, Rebecca Reina. Marisa, welcome. Long time no speak. Hope you guys are doing good. How's Louie and the baby? And the new baby. The cute little puppy. Anyway, haven't talked to you in a few days. It'd be nice to talk to you here and there. Give me a call in the next couple of days. Hope you're doing good. No, you didn't invite all, right? No harmful bugs, just invested. Invested. Anybody is welcome. Anyone. Doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't turn anybody away. Like I said, and I've always said, anybody's welcome here to my house as long as you're not an asshole. Simple. You have a difference of opinion? That's okay. That's what makes the world go around. That's what makes the world interesting, right? So, yes, everyone is welcome. Vested, interested, or not. Well, if you're not interested, then you probably wouldn't want to be here. But yeah, I got some interesting inside tips today having to do with Sylvia Atkinson. No harm in picking sides. In fact, it's clear where everyone here stands. Yeah, pretty much. It is clear. Sometimes a little too clear. And a little times, people are so clear that certain feelings come out and you get to see some true colors. And it's unfortunate, but, we are going to clear some of that up tonight again, I hope. And, those that complain that he's on again or again, it's like, you know what? The man's got something to say. I'm going to let him say it. Anybody wants to come on and say it, I'll say it again. There's nothing wrong with that. If he's trying to be transparent before he even, if he gets elected in, I mean, he's making himself so available. I would imagine that'd be something that people would like to see. Sorry, just wiping my desk with these alcohol wipes. Whoa, a lot of alcohol. Ooh, man, you get a buzz from this stuff. No, I'm just kidding. So yes, everybody got their opinions. Everybody has their ulterior motives even. And for whatever, I just want to put the information out there as how it should be and then let you guys decide. That's the best that I can do. And that's how things should be done. And hopefully you guys can decide for yourselves what's going to happen on Election Day. Early voting did start. Hey, Lynn, welcome. Early voting did start Monday. And it runs through the week. And then on Saturday, 8 to 8, if I'm not mistaken. Sunday is off. No, I'm sorry, 8 to... I got my notes here somewhere. I apologize. Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, right? Saturday is going to be 10 to 5. And then on Monday and Tuesday, it's going to be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then Election Day, the big day, is on the 19th. So get out there and vote, cast your vote, make your own decision, think for yourselves, make your own decision. That's the best that I can say. Listen to everything. All right? Listen to everything. Make your own decision. Now, I'm not having you vote one way or the other. We got two decent candidates here, it seems like. Capable. And, ways of differences. Professional differences. There's a lot of personal... slinging going on from one way to the other. And somebody said that, he's playing the victim now. He's not playing the victim. I don't think he is. That's a lot of crap out there going on. What are you trying to say, Ladybug? Trying, let's see. Clearly, dear hungry hippo is divine. Nobody is divine in here except me. This may sound stupid, but just how much does it help to get thoughts out to the general public? For instance, I'm not from Texas, so I don't know anything about what any of them are talking about. I'm just here to see yours and Bam's smiling faces. Oh, I know that. Yeah, this is a very local topic, a local interview that will go on tonight. So yes, Lori, this is a candidate who's running for the city commissioner for the 3rd district of Brownsville. There are 2 candidates there in a runoff. So this is like a runoff election, like a secondary election. And right now they're in the early voting. And the other candidate, Jessica Puente Bradshaw, is running her campaign, and a lot of her supporters are slinging mud and a lot of misconceptions and a lot of lies. I'm just going to say lies is what they are. And so he asked me to come back on and talk about it some more. I was like, sure, why not? It's not going to be a 4-hour show like it has been in the past, a 3 or 4 hour show. Tomorrow I'm off to Miami. And so Roy, he just walked in the room. If you can hear me, it's not going to be an all-nighter tonight, buddy. Not tonight. I got to be up bright and early, and the beaches of Miami are calling me. So, Lori, it doesn't sound stupid, I promise. I know this is not up your alley. It's a lot of local stuff, but you might get to know a lot of the people, like as you have already in the chat room and the candidate. Candidates have a right to voice their thoughts, also clear the air. Others have made this race controversial for stupid reasons. I agree. And just because I agree with a lot of things that he's saying or he said or how I see things, it doesn't mean that I would vote that way. I have my opinions too, but it's not my race. I'm not in that district. And that shouldn't matter. Everybody can make their own. But make it on good merits, man. Not just a personal crap going on. It's dumb. Why does the focus tend to gear toward individual viewpoints? This election is about who wants it. The election is not even about who wants your vote. The election is about what is each candidate going to do for the city? What are the issues? What is the problem going on? How can they fix certain issues? That's what the problem is. And that's why people want to run and be on the city commission to make a change. But all these attacks that are going on, there's not even a question about where he stands on anything. They're not asking him about that. They're just bringing stuff from the past, which we will address. And once you start making crap up, and then that's not good either. Don't worry, they are tough candidates. Give them both more credit. Oh, absolutely. They wouldn't be in a runoff if they both weren't decent candidates. What other lies being said? Well, we will talk about that in a moment. And ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Roy de los Santos, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Manny. How are you doing?
Not bad. I was on the road a little bit tonight, and I thought I was going to be late, but it turned out not to be so bad.
No, and I agree with you. I've had a long day today. I've got a long day tomorrow and for the next couple of weeks. So yeah, this won't be one of our 3-hour marathons.
Yeah, no, not tonight. And I welcome those. If you guys haven't been here for those long 4-hour shows, they're quite interesting and they're fun.
Yes.
We have the official discussion, and then we have the afterwards, and that's a whole lot of fun. Just tonight I can't do that. I have to get up super early tomorrow.
No worries.
Traveling for fun, not for work this time. So.
Oh, nice.
Taking a few days for myself. What's your day been like, Roy? How's your campaigning going today?
Campaigning's going great. I was up very, very early this morning doing taxes for my loved grandmother. Had to get out to set up tents because we were going to be giving out tacos today to voters coming by to cast their vote at the library. Ran over to the Convention Visitors Bureau for a flag raising ceremony. Back to the library to hand out tacos for about 3 hours. I think a little over 3 hours we handed out food today.
Yeah.
Then had a meeting late this afternoon for the planning of the 95th anniversary of Texas Southmost College. I'm proud to be on that steering committee.
Awesome. 95th anniversary. Yeah, that should be quite an event.
Yes. And then a few radio interview, some other emails and other business to take care of, and then just waiting for your show tonight.
Excellent, man. It was hot out there today. You were standing out there in that freaking heat.
Very. I think the color is making me look good right now on my camera, but trust me, live and in person, you'll see the red all over.
Yeah, that's all right. As long as hopefully we're protected. You got to wear that sunblock or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So you asked to be on. I know there's a lot of things that you want to discuss. A lot of falsehoods that are out there. But we'll just call it like it is. There's a lot of lies that are out there.
Right.
And and when I announced this, I did get some flack for why is he on again? And this, and like, you know what? I'm on. You get people should be glad that you want to come on and talk so much as you're doing. Some I'll call them handlers or campaign managers or whatever you want to call them. They would prevent people from getting online so much and think, don't talk about that or don't talk about this or just let that go. Like, no, Roy's been willing to come on and take head on whatever's thrown at him. And,
right.
and like I said a few minutes ago, whether or not people like the way you answer certain things, well, that's a whole other issue. But you haven't turned around and said and tried to avoid anything. So, I bravo to that.
And I think you can agree that consistently from the first time I've appeared on your show to the last time I've appeared on your show, where I stand on issues and who I am has not changed any.
It hasn't, even though people will say that you have. And let's segue that into, the attacks have been personal, and that's all it's been.
Right.
It's been nothing of issues. What are the issues in the city? What what's his stance on this? What's his stance on? No, it's just about the DUI issue, the elite, who endorsed you. It's been the LGBTQ.
Don't forget the latest. I'm evidently possibly a white supremacist now.
Oh yeah, you know what?
All openly gay men are white supremacists, right?
Oh, it's
yeah.
Oh my God. So let's talk about that tattoo.
Yes.
So some people don't know what that tattoo, where it originates. Now somebody did do the research on it.
Yes.
As should have been done. And there are parallels from that tattoo to the swastika tattoo also.
Mm-hmm.
The swastika tattoo comes from Egyptian times. It does not mean the Nazis didn't originate that.
Right.
They took that and converted it, and they just embraced it. Oh, this is going to be our thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing happened with yours, which, if I'm not mistaken, is from the Roman Empire.
Correct.
Right? And I'll let you talk more about what that is or what that means to you.
So yeah, and more specifically, it's the old Roman Republic. Being as passionate and loving our country as much as I do, and knowing that our form of government, and I know we've got democracy, but we are a republic. We are not a true democracy. And our republic was based on the Republican form of government, which is the old Roman Republic. And the symbol was, or the saying was, Seneros Populos que Romanos, and that's SPQR is the abbreviation that was used. And you still see that in different parts of the city throughout Rome today. The reason I adopted it was because we were based on that old type of government. And I believe in that there should be representatives elected by the people who represent the people. That's our foundation. The lion was my very first tattoo, and the lion came way before the lettering. But that's why I put them together, because yeah, the lion is one of the animals that I love the most, along with, I've got a couple of shark tattoo, tribal hammerhead, and then a shark fin as well. And that's more because I'm a parrot head and the Jimmy Buffett song Fins Up. But that's it. That's what it's about. It's because, yes, I believe in the people and represent the representation for the people. And I'm very proud that that's what our country stands for. And that's what motivated it. That's what inspired it. And of course, no one bothered to ask the question in a reasonable way. It's just, look, here we go, white supremacy, and then go into all the other diatribes. And
so, do you have any Mexican, Hispanic, Latin blood in you at all?
Yes, my last name is de los Santos, and on that side of the family, my grandmother was Leal. There's Cavazos on that side of the family as well. On my mom's side, there's Alvarez, Baker, Lugo, and so many other family names that come into it. But yes, lots of Hispanic blood.
Yeah, and fans, I already knew the answer to that. I just wanted to make a point is it's ridiculous to call him a white supremacist when he's got brown blood in him, if you want to call it brown.
And
it's just totally ridiculous.
And when I'm openly gay, because I would obviously be someone who would be targeted by white supremacists.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, on top of that, exactly. Yep. So, and then then they brought up a point about another tattoo. I guess you have another one. It looks like a 6-pack.
That's exactly what it is.
Any significance to that?
No real significance. In fact, when I went to get that tattoo, I was going to get something completely different. And when I talked to the artist about it, the artist said, absolutely not, we're not doing it. Not because of what it was, but because of where I wanted to put it. And the tattoo artist said, no, that will be way too painful. Yeah. And I'm the type that I'm not just going to go in there and say, oh, what would I like to get today? Yeah. Usually I want to get something for a reason. And I wait until I've psyched myself up for it. Even my first tattoo, I probably waited 3 years before I got it. Because I wanted to make 100% sure this is something permanent I'm putting on my body. Let's do that. That was the lion. But yeah, the 6-pack came about, was absolutely not going that direction. When the tattoo artist refused that, he says, let's come up with something else. And so we talked and different ideas. And I wanted to be original. And he had a tattoo around his belly button that said Hecho en Mexico. Mm-hmm. And I thought, that was awesome. That's hilarious. I like that. That would be a great conversation piece. I said, but you've got that. I said, so I can't do that because it's got to be original. And we brainstormed a little bit more. And he was the one that said, what about a 6-pack? And I was just puzzled. I'm like, a 6-pack? What are you talking about? He says, yeah, you can tell girls you want to see my 6-pack. And I'm like, that is an interesting conversation piece. I'm like, you know what? Let's do it.
Didn't even think about that angle just until you mentioned it right there.
And to this day, it has been a great conversation piece. And I still see people that I hadn't seen in years, and I get asked that question. Like, you still got the 6-pack? And of course I do.
Yeah, that's.
There are times when they look more like tall boys.
And I know that. Yeah. And I know that people would say, oh, look, it's drinking. See, even, trying to.
Of course.
It's just, it's ridiculous.
It is.
So the other thing that came, well, what else? Which point do you want to address next? I can pick a few of them, but hang on. If you're getting flag banged, it's because you're doing what is right. Getting the word out to the public is very important, not to be opinionated, but fair is all that matters. Fair is all that matters. And and you know what? And getting the truth out. I mean, be truthful about crap. If you're making up lies, well, now you're showing desperation, in my opinion.
Right.
And if you don't do anything to talk down those lies, and you're part of it, well, then, that's a problem too. But why wouldn't you want the candidate? It's always a problem. They always say, oh, he never talks about that, or he won't address that, and he won't address that. They're always talking about everybody else who they won't talk, and now you're here talking like a canary, and they have a problem with that.
Right.
See how that works?
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, and I really feel strongly that it's because if you look at my record, and that's the thing is, I've got a record of service for the community, and anybody who looks at that record, there's not much you can attack there because it's been solid. I put the community first when that's what I'm working towards. And even it would be real easy for me to say if I sit on one board or the other, well, then no, my top priority is this board. And I'll do things that are going to benefit this board and this organization, even if it's to the detriment of the community at large, because I'm here to represent this board. That's not ever how I've conducted myself. In everything I do, even on individual boards, I still look at things from a global perspective and how it affects the community as a whole. And, a good example of that is the hotel occupancy taxes. Those are monies that are available. And I know as I've been involved with Sombrero Festival over the years, we've been told several times by different individuals, why don't you apply for grants? These monies are available. You promote the city. You draw tourism to the city. Why aren't you going after these? And I said, bottom line is because we don't need them. I said, we're able to run ourselves as a very responsible organization. We're able to turn a profit, and we'd rather give back to the community rather than finding ways for how we can take up taxpayer money. That money should be going to other new ventures that are starting up and need that type of help. Sure. And I don't like the idea of any organization going into something anticipating depending on taxpayer money for the duration. I think that's a great startup. And if you can prove that you're worthwhile to draw to the community, great. Make sure you're providing a return on investment for the customers. But in our case, and I'm proud of that with Sombrero, is that We don't take advantage of that because we don't need to. And in fact, in 2020, and I think I mentioned this on a previous show, if anybody came out in 2020, any parks employees that you saw, any city of Brownsville police officers that you saw, those were paid for 100% by Sombrero Festival. Any overtime hours, we wrote a check to the city for that amount to make sure that that did not come out of city budgets, and all the police officers were off-duty officers that we hired because we did not want taxpayers footing the bill. And I sat down with the chief and along with the rest of our administration, and we told him, said, we know the needs are great in the city with everything going on with parades and the carnival and traffic and Mr. Amigo. We said, put the officers where you need them. We can take care of ourselves on our grounds.
How many police officers are used for that typically?
Well, it varies over the years. Of course, we've been ramping up the busier we've gotten. And keep in mind also, we do hire and contract a private security company because it would probably take most of, if not all of the Brownsville police force, as far as how many officers are on duty and active at any given time to take care of the entire park grounds and everything we do as an operation. So the bulk of it starts with the private security company that works closely with the Brownsville PD. And then we supplement that with Brownsville police officers. I'd say we had anywhere from 20 to 30 Brownsville police officers on the grounds. That's not including our private security company. That could be as many as 60 additional officers.
Now, is that off-duty police officers? Are they doing this on their own time, or are they hired as officers from the city?
They are hired on their own time. Yeah, with the Brownsville Police Officers Association, and that's part of their contract with the city. Is there are rates that are set for their off-duty hours, and so we go through the rep from the union to hire those officers and coordinate with them.
That's awesome. Elizabeth, hey, welcome. She says skinheads were originally not racist, and neo-Nazis stole the bald head look and jeans and the boots. Symbols and styles change every decade, and people still use things from the past. Yeah, and those two main ones, like you said, the skinhead deal, but then the swastika thing. A lot of people don't know that was back in the Egyptian times.
Yeah.
And what exactly it signified, I didn't keep reading up on that, but that's how long it's been around. So,
well, and and I'm not going to dismiss folks. I could understand with a Nazi symbol or with the swastika, for example. There's probably a lot of folks who don't know that history at all. And if you think about it, probably within the last 30, 40 years, maybe even 50 years, you see that symbol, it only brings one thing to mind. So I can understand people not having a good understanding of that, but the SPQR in popular culture, in travel all over the world, that's something that is so incredibly well known and not specifically for white supremacy. So for anyone to go straight to that, that's nothing but being vicious and ugly for no good reason other than you've got nothing else to attack me with. You certainly don't have truth. So let's start to make up lies and innuendo.
Got that. Paul the Master, hey, just woke up. Welcome, Paul.
I'm jealous, Paul.
Paul, glad you can make it. Corinne, so who said that Roy's a white supremacist? Do you want to call posts out? These are public posts. It's not like...
Yeah, John Barham raised that question, Corinne, and I'm surprised you asked that question as if you don't know who it is, because you're part of that whole group that when you talk about me, you say the lies and the deceit and the deception will come out. Name a lie. Name one thing I've done that's deceitful. Name one deception. Anything that me or my campaign has gotten into, you can't. Yeah,
another misconception that keeps coming up is that you are the chairman of the LGBTQ task force.
Yes, and that's public record. And I think I've even sent you documentation on that, how I wasn't even on the original roster of people who had applied for that body or were even considered. And all of those minutes are online at the City of Brownsville website. I was never seeking the office of chairman. I've never held the office of chairman, co-chair, anything like that. I'm just a regular member on that board. But you know what? It's more galvanizing to those that are just about hate and intolerance and want to fight against something to say that I'm the chairman. They want to paint me as the figurehead. And, I'd be proud if I were the chair, but it's not a position I hold. And it's not in a position I would even deserve because there's folks who have done far more for the cause over the years than I have that are much more deserving.
And again, public information. It's not like it's a secret society. And,
exactly.
And well, You know, there are people that will keep saying that and keep repeating it and keep repeating it. And there's a crowd out there that will just soak it in and soak it in and soak it in, and they just know it as truth.
Yeah, in fact, I saw one post where someone was making reference to my agenda, and they're worried about my agenda and references to
that's the other thing
I hope to enact are going to infringe on people's liberties. My agenda has been pretty clear, and I talk about it on every show. You know, it's emergency preparedness, infrastructure, economic development. Special needs are important, as well as seniors is becoming a bigger idea, an area that we need to focus on. That's my agenda. And so I've told people, I said, if anybody has a question about my agenda, sit down with me. Let's have a cup of coffee. Talk to me, get to know me. I said, but if you're hearing anything different than that, as far as my agenda, you're being lied to. And one person that I defended myself against on that just went into a huge rant about the left and the Democrats and what we're trying to do and attacking American values and attacking the American way of life. And I'm like, you know what? There's no getting through to some people. I understand that. But it's so unfortunate. You know what? Hate me for what I've done, not for what you think I'm going to do or what you're being told I'm going to do, because you're being lied to. And it's sad if you live your life and you cast your vote based on lies. And no, I did not run for school board.
Nope, Elizabeth. Nope. Where you been, Elizabeth? Karen, are you starstruck Russell Crowe fan who couldn't get over the film Gladiator? Do you identify with Roman reformers in the 12th century? Surely, Roy, you do not relate to Italian fascists.
See, and we all know that's not really Karen's question. We know Karen took that from John's post. And yeah, that's the kind of thing. Why do we have to ask a stupid question, a rhetorical question?
Oh, yeah. Again, second part of that comment from her. And somehow I cannot imagine you supporting white supremacy in the 21st century. Right?
Exactly.
You know, you got to laugh at stuff sometimes. Otherwise, you know, I told him earlier, I'm like, and I don't know how you put up with this stuff. That's why I am not. This is what turns people off about politics.
Yes.
You know, if it was about the issues, stuff going on in the city, different story, right? But
definitely.
It's not. It's totally not.
And the thing is, when you get into politics, when you get into a role like this, it's not just the candidate. You know, and somebody made a comment the other day that implied something about my upbringing and my mother. And man, those are almost fighting words, or those are definitely fighting words where I come from. Like, why would you even need to go there?
Me too.
But you know what? They go there because that's the type of people they are.
Karen, again, if you were referring to John Barham's post, I don't see where he called him a white supremacist. And he, in fact, stated he didn't see Roy supporting white supremacists. There was a lot of things said in that post. A lot. And you can read between the lines or choose not to if you don't want to.
The blind choose not to.
Yeah. And that's the honest truth, Karen. There was a lot there. And no, he did not. Okay, I was not running. Dylan, thank you. Susan, I believe he ran for at-large. Did you run it at-large at one point?
I run for an unexpired term at-large in 2007.
Okay. So that's what it was. It was not the BISD seat that Elizabeth was talking about. Okay, let's look at Ann's real quick. I'll put it up real quick and take it off because it's a lot to display. You're leading in the draft and push for the Fair Practice Ordinance, previously known as LGBTQ Task Force Non-Discrimination Ordinance. Page 13 under Enforcement states that the city will find criminal charges against any public if found discriminatory. Do you support this enforcement against the public or any business for standing for their own values that do not support LGBTQ views? And thank you for that comment.
Good comment, Ann. And I hope that you'll accept the honest answer on this. Okay, so first, let me say about the Fair Practices Ordinance, also called the Non-Discrimination Ordinance. Number one, for those folks that put in the public information requests, there were multiple drafts that have come out for that work that's being done. And it seems like they've taken what would be the most inflammatory to their base, and that's what they're running with. So one of the things I heard was there's no consideration for religious organizations. Well, that's a lie, because if you go back to the draft that I drafted before we had lots of outside entities coming in to give their input, there specifically is an exception for religious organizations in there. But nobody wants to talk about that because, God forbid, the truth about Roy be that he actually recommended an exception for religious consideration. Aside from that, though, this isn't about when it says, do you support this enforcement against the public or any business for standing for their own values? That's the key right there, because anybody can say, well, these are my values. I can go ahead and say right now, well, you know what? The state law says I have to wear a seatbelt, but my values tell me that I can do whatever I want. I don't have to do that. And it was the same with face masks. It's the same with whether or not you have to lock down. And you had cities saying, we don't care. We're not going to follow the law. We're not going to follow the mandate from the governor. And we know we have states all the time saying we're not going to follow mandates from Washington. So anybody can say, I'm standing up for my values and you're attacking my values. I stand behind the law. That is what I'm about, is the law. And even my opponent has said they feel the fair practice ordinance is not necessary, specifically because there is already federal law in place which covers this. So if federal law is in place covering this already, and all we're doing is passing a law which aligns with federal law, nobody's rights are being violated. No additional freedoms are being taken away. We're just lining up with what the federal government, with what the Supreme Court, the conservative Supreme Court, has come down with. And that was a 6-3 decision on some of these things, with 2 conservatives siding with the left on this. So it's not about me saying I'm going to violate people's values. I'm saying stop trying to use your values as justification for breaking the law. That's all this is about.
Yes, very well said. I really do hope that clears it up. If not, if you got more questions, feel free.
One more point on that, because I know and this was a very good question that I had, and this had to do with a patient who's in need of medical care. And this was not put to me as this is an actual person. This is not anything that would violate HIPAA laws. But let's say you have someone who is at the point where they can no longer care for themselves, and they need a nurse or provider who's going to come in, care for them, feed them, bathe them, dress them, things of that nature. And the question was if that person has a preference as to the sex of the nurse or healthcare professional who comes in, shouldn't that be a factor? And I said, absolutely, it should. That's something should definitely be taken into consideration, because the personal care of an individual is something, it is a personal decision, and that has to be respected. I said, where I have an issue is if someone's coming to your agency saying, I need care, and you're saying, yeah, but you're gay, we're not going to provide you medical care. Or yeah, you were a transgender, or you're a drag queen, or whatever, that we're not going to provide you the services that we do business with day to day. And I'm not saying this individual said that they would do that. I'm saying that's the type of thing I'm talking about when we talk about discrimination. That's what we're talking about, is if you want to be a healthcare provider and you take an oath to save lives or to care for people, it's not, well, I'm only going to care for people that do what I say is right and follow my values. It's to any human being out there who's in need of those services, you should be willing to provide them.
Absolutely. I heard John, he never said you're a white supremacist. Watch for yourself. Yeah, he wasn't the one I was referring to on that. He may have insinuated things, but we were talking about the
was that Juan?
About the tattoo. Juan Garcia post.
Yeah.
The post by Juan Garcia. And then everybody on there.
I wasn't referring to the interview. I was referring to the post with regard to John. And yeah, with Juan Garcia, I mean, first and foremost, let's all admit, Juan Garcia is a BS name. As far as I know, there's no actual Juan Garcia out there. It's an individual using it as an alias, or a couple of individuals to get collectively using it as an alias. But
probably.
You
could be right.
Will that guy come forward and be on the show with us like we've done with Mr. Castro, like we're on with Bam, and we have other people come on? If Juan Garcia is out there, by all means, let's get him on the show with us one of these days.
Yeah. So there is one thing I wanted to clear up also. And it's been said in a couple of different ways that you are paying me for supporting or allowing you a platform to speak. And it was even said, and I believe I told you this, and people, if you haven't heard this, it's on video. I have the clip. Somebody I thought was close to me insinuated that he was either paying me or there was sex involved between Mr. De Los Santos and myself. Somebody actually said that. Somebody who calls himself a God-fearing person and a preacher said that. So I take exception to that. because I can't believe somebody would actually go that route. It's sad. So, negativity, I remove it from my life. I don't need that. I don't have to say there's no truth to it. There's no truth to it. And Roy's not paying me a cent. I asked for a raise. He said, okay, I'll give you $00. Like, perfect. So if anybody wants to come on to speak their piece, my door is always freaking open. I'm a message away. I'll put you on as quickly as you want.
This is, it's funny, Manny. I think the way I came on your first show was I ran into a friend, and the question I got was, why did you refuse to do Manny's show? And I'm like, I've never even heard of Manny's show. What are you talking about? They told me all about you, and they told me about the show. I said, I've never been invited. And he says, well, somebody's telling Manny that you've refused to do his show. And I'm like, that's nothing further from the truth. And you and I spoke that day, and I was on shortly thereafter. I mean, people just love throwing out a lie, love throwing out a rumor. And in your case, I hate to say it doesn't surprise me, but in this day and age in this country, it doesn't. Because at the turn of every corner, there's another lie being told. I mean, how many times have we heard, yes, the president's been inaugurated, but next month, Donald Trump's going to get reinstated. And that didn't happen. Well, now it's going to happen next month. And guess what? Now it's going to happen in August. And there's always a lie that's going to be told. And if you don't stand lockstep with people in their beliefs, then automatically you are wrong, you are evil, you're a liar. You can't be a real conservative if you're not condemning everyone who isn't by their definition a conservative. It's a sad state of affairs, and that's why this country is so divided now.
It is. I mean, people can say stuff like that, and it's disheartening.
It is,
and especially when it comes from some of you people you thought were close to you or you thought were sincere. And so I do take exception to that, and that's where I draw the line. I'm like, all right, it's time to move on.
And let me say also, Manny, because I know you had my opponent on about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, and a little bit, you guys discussed a little bit about the fact how the rhetoric has gone a little off the rails, and there's a lot of things out there being said that aren't true. And you asked my opponent what they thought of that. And the response was basically along the lines of, well, that's politics. And I'm not going to tell people what to think, and I'm not going to tell people to express what they feel. There's a big difference between what you feel and knowingly lying or saying something to mislead the public for political purposes. That's one big issue I have with it. But two, me, and I'll say it right now, my supporters, anybody else's supporters, and even if it's people who just dislike my opponent, don't turn to lies. There's no good reason for that. None of us should be attacking somebody else for the way they dress, because I've heard women attacked in this race like that before, for their thoughts or their views. Keep it on the issues. Don't get petty. Don't get personal. That's just ridiculous. I absolutely and unequivocally condemn that behavior. I know my opponent wouldn't do that. She said, well, I don't expect Roy's going to do that for me. Well, whether or not I do or don't shouldn't be a factor. It should be about right and wrong. And it's wrong for people to go out there and use innuendo and use lies to try and mislead the masses. That is just wrong. And anyone who says they're in it for a community should be standing up against that. And my opponent did not take the opportunity to do that. I don't need her to do it before I'm willing to do it, because I've always been about standing up for what's right and wrong. And that doesn't mean I'm perfect. I'm not a saint. We've all made mistakes. I own my mistakes. And you want to come at me on my mistakes, I'm glad to talk about them. I've done that very frankly with you here on your show. But you can't you can't disprove a negative, because there's no evidence to disprove a negative. And when you're dealing with lies, it's just a distraction from the real issues. Yeah,
and I have a problem with people just wanting to cause division.
Yep. So
and it's and then the other part that's bad on top of that is you got a crowd that goes with it, and they jump on that bandwagon, and they spew and they repeat without looking anything up.
Yep.
And just blindly following it. And that's where the term sheep comes from.
Amen.
Sheep, I mean, the actual animal, the herd, they just follow what they were trained to do. And that's not a good thing. So will distance myself from that kind of thing, and I have before, and I'll do it again. David, is a Hindu in origin, the swastika. It means a connection to goodwill. The Nazis changed the symbol to try to connect to their identity and mythology. That's correct. I did hear that. I know it's something goodwill, but I wasn't exactly sure. I'm surprised the Goodwill stores don't have that as their logo. Can you imagine that? It would drive people crazy. I was just a joke. Bad joke. Okay. Lydia Garza, are you sure you want to bring up law, Roy, DUI?
Yes,
Yeah,
Lydia.
and the next comment, you are about the law. You're pending charges for DUI. So
that's right.
That's what everybody wants to talk about.
Right, and that's why when those questions were first asked, and guess what? When I ran in 2007, one of the first forums I was at, every candidate was asked, have you ever been arrested? And right away, I gave my record of what I'd been arrested for at that point. At that time, it was just the one, and it was dismissed because it was for public intoxication. I was not in public. I was at my residence on private property. But yeah, do I really want to talk about the law? Of course. Have I been unclear in any way? When I say I'm willing to talk about the law, I want to talk about the law, and I'm willing to talk about anything. And these people ask that question as if, oh, I'm going to get scared now because they're bringing up truth. No, I've talked about this so openly and so honestly, and you all talk about the law. But yes, as you say, they're pending charges. And in this country, a man is innocent until proven guilty. But everybody, well, not everybody, but of course, every one of my opponent's supporters have already tried and convicted me here. And clearly, if you don't believe in the law, if that's what you feel, that you know what, someone's guilty before they've even gone to court to been proven guilty, you're part of the problem in this country. You're absolutely part of the problem.
Yeah, and again, this is not a court of law. This is a court of public opinion that people are already deciding. Now, it's being said, oh, he's part of the elite. Oh, it's going to get swept under the rug. The mayor is going to say something and then it's going to disappear and it's going to disappear. You've already said, come what may, you'll deal with it and you will accept whatever it is that happens.
And honestly, if I were part of the elite, don't you think that this charge would have disappeared before I filed to run for public office?
Yeah, probably. And
wouldn't it make sense that if I want to stay out of the spotlight to hide an illegal act or anything else, why would I step into the arena of politics where my life goes under the microscope if I was trying to get away with something?
Yeah. Now, people may not know this, but many, many people are convicted of DUIs every single day.
Yep.
And many, many first-time offenders, it's a very light to almost a slap on the wrist. And so, of course, if that happens and they get, you have to do classes or whatever, I don't even know, whatever it may be. If it's something light, you're going to get the crowd saying, see, somebody set that up and he got nothing. And, and that's what will happen because you can't, it's, their mindset is one certain way and it's unfortunate that way.
Of course, just like, if when voting day gets here, if at the end of it all, I end up winning this race, people are going to be saying the election was stolen.
And this is not
ballot boxes stuffed.
And this is not to say you're not playing the victim because that's been thrown out there also. Oh, now he's playing the victim. Now he's playing the victim. It's like I don't see that.
No, not at all. And then I see people laying the groundwork already for the ballot harvesting and ballot harvesting and ballot harvesting. I'm like, I've seen politics in Cameron County all my life, and I remember the years when the politiqueras were a force to be reckoned with down here, and they had all the adult daycare centers lined up and rounded up, and they'd have boxes and boxes of absentee ballots that they had control over before they went in. I don't see that anymore. I haven't seen anybody in this race engaging in anything like that. And I can't remember the last race where I saw it firsthand, as where to me, I could see it on every street corner during political seasons in the past. I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm saying I don't see it anymore. So it's no longer the rule. It's by far the exception if it's occurring at all. But yeah, there's folks out there trumpeting the hell out of that. And why? Because they'll want to be able to make false allegations if they lose this race.
Yeah. And for me, I would say, well, I wouldn't go as far as saying it doesn't happen. I'm sure at some level it does happen. And at some level it has happened.
Well, in fact, I remember after the November elections last year, and I'm going to point to the first one because I remember it. But yeah, it was someone who acknowledged, and I think they pled guilty. I don't know that they were punished severely or anything, but they admitted that their parent had died and they were still using their absentee ballot. And that one in particular, That one in particular was a conservative, and they were voting for the Republican candidate for president. Now, that doesn't mean I think, well, the cheating is only on one side. No, I think it happens on either side. But I don't think it's anywhere near at a level that would change the outcome of the national election. And here in Brownsville, it may have been the case when you had close races in the past, that definitely those politiqueras and that machine was swaying the outcomes of elections. I don't see that anymore. And I'm proud of that.
Yeah, so I hope that, I don't know, is that, obviously you can't talk details because this thing is pending.
Right.
I'm sure once it's over and settled, if people want to know all the details, one, it'll be public, but two, you can feel free to speak your piece on that also.
Oh, and honestly, I'll come right back on your show, and then I don't know that if on the 24th, and that's the thing, these dates as they've come up, and this just happened to be 5 days after. And so some insinuated that, I arranged to have it delayed until after the election so that I could say it was pending. That's just asinine. There's no good reason for my life to be put on hold and under the microscope longer. I'm the type that, like I say, I own who I am, and I will take my medicine, whatever it is. But yeah, my court date is on the 24th. I don't know at what stage we are in the process, if that's going to be the end all and be all as far as a plea and everything goes, or if there's still more to the process. I've got to talk to my lawyer about that. But as soon as it is, and I'm not going to say, well, I can't produce my taxes because I'm undergoing an audit. I'm not doing anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm willing to come out on your show, talk about it, so that there's no question. There shouldn't be any question. And absolutely, if I'm a public servant, the public has a right to know.
And I would think, there are people out there calling for, we need transparency. We need transparency. Dude is being so transparent now. I think he's being honest. I think he's being forthright. Isn't that what you guys wanted? Isn't that what people want?
Not if it's
everybody complains.
Not what they want to hear.
Yeah, everybody complains. Oh, we don't hear from so and so. Oh, we don't hear from so and so. Oh, and that guy. Oh, we don't know even what he looks like anymore. And I mean, at this point, just in a candidacy, putting his junk out there. Everything is out there.
Yep.
Dirty laundry, all kind of laundry. It's all out there. Exactly. Isn't that what you guys want? To me, if he's like this now, I would imagine he'll be like this later. Nobody just does this and then they completely do a 180 and change to something else.
Right.
So if you have questions, ask them. He's put himself here for that reason. He told me before. He's always said it. Don't hold back. If somebody says something or you got to ask a question or you want something, ask. He's not going to run from it. So in short, you do support criminal fines. And the draft that I am referring to is what I've been told by the city manager is the latest draft.
I'm not talking about what, that you're referring to. No, I'm not going to say that, because first and foremost, there's been no proposal or recommendation made to the city of Brownsville. There's people just having a discussion right now. And as we know, just like in Washington, just like in Austin, bills can go through several drafts. Same thing with ordinances. Nothing has been proposed yet. All there is ideas going back and forth on what would work well, what wouldn't work for Brownsville, because there's no one-size-fits-all approach to everything. But if we're talking about criminal fines for someone who breaks the law, damn straight. Why shouldn't there be a penalty for someone who breaks the law? But what breaking the law is, let's not get confused about that, because there's no law here to refer to. It's what folks who are against me want to try and paint as this is some new law that Roy wants to try and implement. And that's just ridiculous.
And then we can hop over to yet another point. Someone said, well, day one, as soon as Roy, if he's elected, day one, he's going to push this agenda. And they talked about you and Ben Neese being such buddy and in support of the children. And then the photo behind it was a drag queen and a bunch of little kids.
Uh-huh.
And that's apparently that's your agenda on day one. That's your top priority.
As if the city commission even had the power to put drag queens in classrooms, because that's the latest is I want drag queens teaching our children is the allegation being made out there. That it's just asinine. It really, really is. And Ben, there's enough public information out there that shows that Ben and I get along just as much as we have fought. And sometimes we've had some really intense fights over different things in the community. But guess what? people are seeing things one way or the other, they're going to want to tie me to some scandal, tie me to, just like before when the allegation was that Sylvia Atkinson was one of my investors, or I was one of her investors.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Roy's
that's right.
business partner is about to go to
Business
prison.
partners, yeah.
You know, they're going to find a way to try and tie me to some sort of scandal because the truth is just not good enough.
So
It's
the skinny
not
on that,
enough.
she is not your business partner.
Never
Were you ever business partners ever?
Never. There was a possibility that could have happened when I was first getting into movie production, and more executive producer than actual production. But I had heard that with the movie that she had done prior to mine, that she had good contacts and good connections, and it would be beneficial if we had some type of relationship. We had lunch, and I think I talked about this on your show also. We had lunch, we tried to have discussions, but I walked away from that saying, no, this wasn't going to be a good fit for either one of us. So we never did any business together at all.
Yep. Another one debunked.
But it's been debunked before, but it will continue to.
Oh, that doesn't matter. There are people out there will say this stuff day after day after day after day, twice a day, 3 times a day, 5 times a day. And people will just believe it. They don't care to look anything up or to wonder if it's real or not. They make it's a snap judgment. And they don't care. And that's unfortunate. Paul Lemaster, Roy, the longer I listen to you, the more your position seems to align with libertarian positions. I would like to see your votes go that way on the city commission. Good luck.
I'd love to see an example of that, Paul. Because I want to put that in perspective.
Susan, please give me instances specific that have happened in Brownsville where you felt the need to initiate this NDO.
In specific instances in Brownsville, I can't say firsthand because I wasn't part of them. And that's why the folks who were behind this task force being created, and from what I understand, they had lobbied the city and worked with the city manager for months on this before it ever even came to fruition. And that's the task force, not even the NDO, because of situations that they felt were occurring in the community or had occurred in the community that they were part of. And they felt there was a better need, or there was a need for the city to have a better understanding of the LGBTQ population in our community and how to interact with them. It was based on that started. Now, as far as the NDO, this goes back to, the NDO, all it's doing is aligning with federal law. And there were already, so this isn't initiating anything. There's already language in city ordinance that prohibits discrimination based on several things, sex being one of them. The Supreme Court has said sex includes sexual identity, sexual gender orientation, all of these things, or sexual orientation, gender identity. That's Supreme Court. So that this is some new leftist, progressive, libertarian ideology that's coming on the scene here. No, this is just updating lots of city language that says no discrimination based on sex, race, religion, national origin, everything else, and specifying that sex includes sexual orientation and gender identity consistent with the Supreme Court.
So something else I wanted to bring up on that, something that Canada did a few years ago. First, Elizabeth says, depends on if it's a public or private entity. I want the right to be able to refuse mails in my business. I should be allowed without getting sued because someone doesn't like it.
Well, first on that, anybody can be sued for any reason. And if it has merit, it goes through the system. If it doesn't have merit, it gets tossed out. But to say you shouldn't be able to sue me, well, now you're talking about violating people's rights because you don't want people to have the right to sue you anymore. And I understand where you're coming from. Now, I don't know the nature of your business, and it may be that it's appropriate, but I don't know. And I know just like this week, we saw a court case where a group of a male-oriented group, I think it was trying to sue because they felt that selective service and that males have to register for the draft when females don't was discriminatory and illegal. And court tossed that right out. Now, that doesn't mean those Americans didn't have the right to sue, but I'm glad to see the court say, look, this is national security. This is something completely different. I like that aspect of our American values. We're not all going to love it, but we should all respect what the law is. And more importantly than anything, like I say, I'm not trying to establish any new law in this country, in this state, in this city. All we're trying to do is bring it into alignment with the Supreme Court decision.
So Canada a few years ago passed a bill called C-16. And that's where, if someone wanted to be called by their pronoun, you had to call them by their pronoun. Otherwise, there would be a penalty and possible jail time.
All right.
What's your take on that? Is that something that you would fall in line and agree with, or is that just way too? I mean, you know,
It's completely over the line.
Asking somebody to, you know, respect the pronoun, and for me, if somebody looks like a woman and wants to act like a woman and wants to be called she, I don't have a problem with that. I know it's whatever. But for the government to force you, and you'll be fined if you don't comply, they can sue you and say, and they actually went as far as calling it hate speech and calling it abuse, and they call it abusive.
And that's another one of those terms that riles people up, and that's one that riles people up more on the left, of course. But no, I don't agree with that in any way, shape, or form. That's covered, I think, by our Constitution in the First Amendment. That's freedom of speech. And I know it might offend people if they're not called by the right gender. But there are a lot of worse things people can be called, have been called, and continue to be called in this country by people who hate. And unfortunately, that's protected speech as well. So no, I don't think you should criminalize anyone not agreeing to use someone's preferred gender identity.
Yeah, and it's funny that I brought that up. It is the 4-year anniversary to the month anyway of when that happened.
Okay.
And that's caused quite a stir over there, and it's many were looking to their country just south of them, saying, "Look what's going on over there. That's the way it should be." But the government didn't feel that way. Manny don't need your money. He gets all his money recording sexy voices for certain movies. Right. That's my side hustle. That's my side hustle. Karen, so even though John Barman's post never said Roy was white supremacist, you all read the opposite and are saying lies by saying he did. No, we just cleared that up. I know we're behind on the comments. Yeah. But we just cleared that up, Karen, not too long ago.
No, and I think with John, it was about reading between the lines.
Yeah. Exactly. Manny should hold a forum. Yeah, it's been put out there. I'm waiting to hear back from another party.
I've already agreed to a forum on any show, on any platform, and this would be my preferred, of course.
Disgusting and defaming a person in that way is just appalling. Clear the air. Always stand up for yourself, beliefs, and morals. Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you, Betty. The one thing I would say is, why do we have to even go there with defaming a person when we should be talking about what's making a difference in the lives of citizens? What's going on with the city of Brownsville? Since that's the office that my opponent and I are seeking, why aren't we just talking about that? Why do we have to defame one another?
Yeah, and I don't think. Well, we'll get to that in a second. Big comment from Ann. Glad you've opened discussion about bashing politics opponents. Recently, the city's LGBTQ task force members have been unprofessionally name-calling and attacking your opponent and the constituents. Do you stand with the actions by these city task force members, or do you believe that being an official city board member, they should always be conducting themselves in a professional and ethical manner? Great comment.
Great comment. So let me dissect that a little bit. First, as far as bashing political opponents, let's see, unprofessionally name calling and attacking. I'd have to see the references to that. I think I did see one, and I absolutely condemn any and every post, regardless of who it's from, even if it's from members of the LGBTQ community, if it's engaging in lies. We should not be using any falsehoods, any innuendo, any references. If we're going to bring something up about someone, it should be based on the truth and not trying to read between the lines and paint a different picture using the truth or twisting the truth. Do I stand by actions of the task force members? I don't stand by any actions that bring lies into it. That's making lies about my opponent or telling lies about my opponent. I do not support that. Or do you believe that being an official city board member, they should be always conducting themselves in a professional and ethical manner? That one, let me say, because I've heard this from my opponent and her base, that, well, the mayor shouldn't be endorsing anybody because the mayor needs to stay neutral because he's a city official. Bull. This is America. And if we're going to talk about our values and our rights, why does the mayor forfeit his right to have a choice when it comes to politics and candidates? The president didn't forfeit his right. President Trump was constantly endorsing people in races, whether it was in the primaries for the Republican nomination or for the larger elections. But suddenly, if you're on a board, you shouldn't be talking. You shouldn't be expressing your views and your values. You shouldn't have freedom of speech. That's just ridiculous. Every American has a right to speak. I encourage all of them, and I condemn those who do not speak based on fact and based on truth. But yet that's an insinuation right there. Oh, you're an official board member. You should be above board. So you've lost your rights to speak. No, that's not what this is about.
And that one comment there, back on Ann's comment, was members of the task force that are name calling, to your opponent. That stuff you definitely don't agree with, and you don't want that going on. I think that was part of her question. Correct.
No, name calling, and especially the lies. If there are any lies being told out there, I absolutely don't support them, and I absolutely condemn them. And if anyone's doing that to try and help me politically, don't do it. Don't engage in it. There's better ways that we can get our message out there, and I'd rather we stay positive than go negative.
So we go to a related comment here from Susan. Manny and Roy, either you are avoiding completely, purposely, or ignorantly, because Nolan Navarro and your partner Brian have both said lies about your opponent.
My partner Brian, I'm not sure what type of partner she's referring to. I know who she's referring to, but I wouldn't call us partners in the business sense, in the romantic sense, in the personal sense, or anything else. Brian is another member of the task force, and we serve on several other boards together. Nolan Navarro have both said lies about your opponent. Tell me the lies.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either.
Clear. I condemn any lies about my opponent.
Yeah, I haven't heard, and I would bring it up also if that was the case. But I've heard, so much is going this way instead of that way that it floods everything else. If there is a lie there, hey, bring it up. I'll ask. I want to know, and I'll guarantee you it's not coming from this man.
Thank you.
And just because somebody who supports him might say it doesn't mean he agrees with that. Just like the other way around, also.
Yep.
I know.
And I will say that I will give my opponent credit. She's not engaged in the lies. I have not heard her say anything disparaging. I know she's raised that there are some questions that I should have to answer, and I agree with her 100% on that. And I think I get out there and I answer those questions any and every time that they're asked. But yeah, that's not true of her supporters, of her base.
Yeah, and I like how she had to say your partner, Brian, kind of. Whatever that's supposed to mean.
We know what it's supposed to mean. We can read between the lines, Susan.
Elizabeth says, I don't know if someone said I did something or said something, I'll either own it or deny it. When you say don't say anything in politics anymore, it makes you look like a pushover. I will never let false narratives determine my character in politics. Many disagree with me, but whatever.
No, and I agree with you, Elizabeth. The important thing to remember is you think about how many shows I've been on here just with Manny. And in all of these shows, how often have we focused on the issues, and how many times have we got to get into defending myself against lies? And if all a candidate has time to do is defend themselves against lies, and their opponent's base is just barraging them with lies, when do they ever have a chance to talk about the issues in the platform? And it's done intentionally because they want to distract from that. And then the accusations come out. Well, they never talk about the budget. Well, they never talk about the issues. And like you say, Manny, because they're not given the opportunity. I'm not worried about that. I'm able to get out there and talk about issues and talk about lies, but it's unfortunate that that's how people want to win elections. And I'm not saying that of my opponent. I'm saying that of people who support my opponent. They want to win this election by focusing on lies rather than focusing on issues.
Yeah. Another comment from Karen. Again, what lies has Jessica said? I'm not trying to cause controversy. I really want to know what lies she has said. Said.
I haven't said Jessica lied, and I haven't heard anyone say Jessica lied.
Yeah, I haven't either. And I haven't heard her say anything. I haven't heard her say much of anything lately. I've only seen some videos that she did put out, some nice videos.
Yes.
And aside from that, I haven't heard much from her at all. I've heard a lot from some of her supporters. A lot of that noise, which is a lot of what and I say noise because all the negative, the lies anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The falsehood, that's what I'm calling noise. Any opponent and the opposition can say whatever they want about each other, but when it gets to lies, then I'll call it noise. You can disagree. Lydia, you have 2 DUIs. You only brought it up when the people brought it up.
That's a lie. Number one.
It's been talked about before.
Yeah. Then one, I don't have 2 DUIs. The first one had to do with public intoxication. That was back in around 2005, 2006. And it was thrown out because it was not public intoxication because I was at my residence. I was outside smoking a cigarette because I do not believe in smoking inside. And this was back when I was a smoker. It's been over 10 years. But I did not believe in smoking indoors wherever I lived. I didn't want my clothes, furniture, everything else smelling like smoke. But yeah, I was arrested there because my driver's license address, even though it was legit as far as Texas, the U.S. government and everybody else was concerned, did not match the city of Brownsville address for where I lived. And since they did not consider that proof of my residency there, that's why I was arrested. But it wasn't on public property. It was on private property. And that's why I was thrown out. And only brought it up when the people brought it up. As soon as the questions are asked ever. I mean, first, when you're running for office, you're asked, why are you running? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And like I said, in 2007, first forum, every candidate was asked, have you ever been arrested? So, and I don't see any reason, I could pull out a list of, what I did in kindergarten, and let me think what I did in junior high, and let me think what I did in high school. So to say you only brought it up when people brought it up, that's just asinine, Lydia. I mean, come on. You're not going to go into an entire life's history of every time you made a mistake, if every time you broke the speed limit, of every time you were late for class or late for work, and wait until, well, nobody asked that question in the campaign, so why should I talk about I was late to work back in 1975?
So I guess the concern there was that, well, you knew about this DUI that happened last year. Why didn't you just come out with it and bring it up? Why did it have to take somebody bringing it up or somebody putting a mugshot out there for you to talk about it? That's probably where she's coming from. And
it's something that had already been talked about. I'd already had those conversations with several people in the community, even when we were considering running. And I told city commissioners, I said, this is one of the reasons I prefer not to be the candidate because I've got a DUI, and they understood my concerns. Several people in the community were looking at who would be a good candidate for District 3. I just got divorced last year. I had a DUI last year. And so I didn't think I was the best representation we could put forward. But like I said, and this was before Jessica filed, but before she filed, the only names I was hearing for the race in District 3 were not folks that I would want representing me. And there were other citizens who felt that way. And despite an exhaustive search to find someone we felt would be a great city commissioner for us, there was no better option. That's why I felt obligated to run.
Very good. Ladybug says, pending issues do form a dark cloud.
They do form a dark cloud, Ladybug. I'll give you that. But one, it's one issue. And people are trying to paint it as I've got multiple, as you just saw in the previous comment. Number two, there are folks, and my opponent is one of them, who said, but these are facts. Before this has gone to court, they're saying, well, this is a fact. And that's always a mistake. That's not, and that's, it's an easy pitfall to fall into. And I'd encourage her not to do that in the future. And just like with the first one, the public intoxication. Well, anybody could look at that arrest report and say, it's a fact. He was in public and he was intoxicated. But no, that wasn't a fact, because once it got to court and once it got adjudicated, it was determined that this was not public intoxication. So we can't just say it's a fact because it's written on a piece of paper. And we can't say it's a fact because it's printed on the internet.
Yeah, which is the purpose of an investigation, to find out what the hell happened.
Due process.
Is this legit? Exactly. Due process is exactly the term. And it's funny how various people in the city who would call themselves city officials or who have been or who want to be have had this problem before, yet,
even folks who were in this race.
There was,
I think 3 of us who had arrest records in this race.
Yeah, but this is the one everybody wants to focus on.
Of course.
So
it's the juiciest.
So be it. Elizabeth, Lydia, what do you expect? Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm running for this or that. Oh, and I have done all these wrong things in my life. Yeah, that's not how that works. That's not a good intro, and yes, things will come out. And we had this discussion before, and you knew that it was there. And if I'm not mistaken, you were told at some point, well, don't just come out with it just wait till somebody brings it up.
But let's say when we say all these wrongs in my life, what all? There's one. We've got one that's pending.
Oh, no. She was just saying theoretically that's not how you start a campaign, by going, yeah, my name is Manny, and I've done this and I've done that and I've done this. I've been arrested 5 times or whatever. Yeah, that's not how you intro yourself to a candidacy.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about this before, whether or not people want to listen or not. It's a whole other story.
No, thank you, Elizabeth.
So, Susan, wait. So, are you denying that you were driving with a 0.133 alcohol level, traveling 65 mph, crashed because you passed out? Are you planning on pleading not guilty?
By all means, let's keep trying to put words in my mouth, Susan. That's pretty much your MO for this race anyway. As we've already said on this show, we're not going to talk about details because it's pending. And I'm certainly not going to give you my plea. That's for damn sure. I'm going to talk to people who are about facts, laws, and due process when it comes time to plea.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I want to discuss it because it is pending, and why would anybody? I know you wouldn't. I wouldn't either.
Right.
Wait, man, are you here to provide an outlet for Roy to answer questions or defend himself? I'm confused. Either. What's the difference? For anybody, not just
because
Roy.
If you're not holding a torch and a pitchfork, Manny, you must be here to defend me.
Goodness. And, you know, I just gotta laugh. I don't know. You know, it's when and the platform, my particular platform, is open to anybody.
Yep.
You know, I've always told Jessica, I've known her for a few years already. Not as long as others, but, you know, longer than some. And it's come on whenever. You want to say something? I asked her today and haven't heard back. So whether they come or not, that's a different story. I'm not defending him. I'm letting him defend himself and answer these lies and accusations and statements that are being made out there. And I mean, and why is that wrong? You know, that's not wrong.
The truth is wrong when people don't like the truth, Manny. That's why it's wrong.
You know, I mean, I know why people do it. That's obvious why they do it.
Yes.
I mean, look what happened to Trump for the last 5 years.
That's right.
6 years almost. So, you know, anybody can come on and say whatever they want to say, and I can ask them. I know I've asked Ben Neese, Mr. Cardenas, I've asked him to come on. Mr. Cardenas, I haven't heard a peep out of him. I was told he was not going to do any shows, but I don't know how true that is. Ben Neese, we got into a discussion. He asked for when, and I gave him some options, and I haven't heard back. So, you know, I want to hear he's got stuff people are saying about him also that, yeah, I'm curious about. And not going to necessarily go easy on anybody. I just put it out there. Tell me what it is. Explain it. Explain yourself. Again, whether people want to believe it or not, well, that's a whole other story. You claim you're a conservative, but your own posts indicate turn Texas blue. Manny, look it up. Roy, I'll let you take that one. So
being a conservative doesn't mean red only.
Yep.
And anybody who believes that is a fool. Red and being conservative, at least in the age that I grew up in, was about doing what was right for the country. Because when Reagan was president, it was not about, well, you know what? The last term, the Dems did this, so now we're going to get them. That's never what this country was about. That's never what the GOP was about. And it's been perverted grossly over the years. But yeah, turn Texas blue. That was because Donald Trump is the first Republican who was president, who was running for president, that I absolutely do not support. And and Manny and I disagree on this very much so. But yeah, it was going to be anybody but Trump. And so I was absolutely hoping Texas would turn blue and vote for Joe Biden. That didn't turn to be the case. That doesn't mean I'm any less of a conservative. If you believe that being a conservative means you don't get to choose who the president's going to be, that you have to vote for the Republican no matter who they are, even if you don't agree with them and they're not aligned with your convictions, that's un-American more so than just unconservative.
Yeah, and I've said this before. I was really rooting for Tulsi Gabbard. You know, she's not Republican.
Yep.
But I was willing to vote for her. I was willing to vote for her. Yeah.
I was hoping Kasich would have gotten the nomination.
Yeah. And these are, you know, she's not a Republican. And I wasn't looking at the red or the blue. I was looking at, I love everything she had to say. And I would vote that way. I hope she runs again at some point.
Mm-hmm. And no need to look it up because I don't lie.
Yeah. But if you want to look it up, look at everything. Don't just look at one thing. Look at everything. You claim you're okay. Did that already. David Smith. If I lived in Brownsville, I would vote for you. Your stand on the issues should be the only reason people should vote for you or against you. Yeah, but it's all personal stuff. It's not.
Thank you, David.
It's not. Unfortunately, it's not. It's a popularity contest at this point. Unfortunately, yes, there should be penalties for people that drink while intoxicated.
There should be penalties for anyone who breaks the law, Lydia. Let's not narrow it down to one. I know that's what a lot of people who are against me would like to do is, well, there shouldn't be penalties for me breaking the law and how I run my business because of my personal values. But yes, there should be punishments for people who drink while intoxicated. That's a double standard, also un-American.
Next comment from Susan again. Roy, that is absolutely not true. Your email was sending the final draft to the city manager for approval in June. There isn't any discussion.
That's a lie. That's an absolute lie. I've never sent anything to the city manager for approval. We work with a liaison in the city manager's office to work with the city attorney's office. But this is still just talking about ideas and where do we go from here. This is all part of ongoing discussion. So to say my email was sending a final draft, it might have been the draft at that point based on the input from all the other entities. But to say we sent a final draft to the city manager for approval by the commission, that is an out and out lie.
Susan, if you have proof of that, then produce it and we'll take a look at it, see, take that apart and see what that's all about. If you have proof.
Remember, the city manager is Noel Bernal, so I'd love to see my email to Mr. Bernal saying this is a final draft for approval by the city commission. And
that should be easy enough to get if that existed.
Exactly.
Show me the evidence. Show me the evidence of anything. That's what I'm big on. Miss Lorraine, Mrs. Dos Santos, the draft that was provided via PR request was considered the final draft for the COB to review. That being said, if you propose religious exemptions, where are they? I'm happy to hear that you said you proposed them, but where are they? They aren't in the draft that was allegedly sent to the COB. To COB. Please provide proof of your aforementioned statements.
And those have been provided. When that PR request about the public information request came in, there was all of the emails that I had with that whole thing were produced along with the attachments. So those drafts of the ones where the one that I penned, the one that said exemption for religious organizations, that's part of that public information request as far as the records that I turned over to the city. I don't know what was requested by those who submitted it specifically, and it may be that the city, I don't know if they narrowed the scope or they provided something specific to the question, and maybe my drafts didn't all get in there, but there were multiple drafts that I turned over as part of the public information request.
Well, the next comment, Jose Colon. As a drag queen, I'm not interested in going to elementary schools. Can you imagine? Those kids could mess up my wigs or maybe spill juice over my outfits. Plus, waking up that early to be under the fluorescent lighting all day, no thanks. That's funny.
Thank you, Joe.
Let's see. LGBT task force is fighting discrimination, yet your own member, Navarro, is discriminating against anyone that supported Trump. I have a copy.
I've been clear. I condemn anyone using lies, anyone using hate. Stick to facts.
Yeah, and hopefully, you can bring that up and say something about it. If it's somebody's personal opinion, well, what are you going to do?
And It's not just the task force fighting discrimination. Most of the city, and like I said, there's ordinance already out there that prohibits discrimination. We're just part of the effort. But it's sexier to say it's the gays who are driving this.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, I came in late to your program. Are people complaining that the LGBTQ community should be shunned?
I don't think I've heard that yet.
I wouldn't go that far. Yeah, no. Nope. See, we're being honest. We're not lighting that flame, right?
Yep.
Nobody said the LGBTQ community should be shunned. Absolutely not. Please don't start with that.
Don't know what that was.
He's talking to Joe, I'm sure. Maybe the NDO should also include fines for LGBT task force hating and discriminating against people with different political views.
Well, see, let's right there. So, Lydia, you're saying that gays should be fined for hate and discriminating against people with different political views. One, I haven't seen discrimination against anyone with a different political view, but political discord, that's allowed. Freedom of speech. And I said, I condemn it if it's about lies and hate. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But to say fines for people who are discriminating against people with different political views, one, point out the discrimination. But two, why is it that the fine should be for the LGBTQ task force and not against anyone who's engaging in hate and discrimination against people of different political views? That's the problem right there, Lydia, is that we want to say fines for these people, but over here, well, these are our values. Leave us alone. We can break the law.
Yeah. And, I don't know what people get all bent out of shape because their views are opposed.
Right.
I don't care. I believe what I believe. And if you don't like it, sorry.
And I've got a lot of friends I disagree with on politics, but we're still friends. We have good discussions. Sometimes they're passionate discussions. But it doesn't turn into hate, and sure as hell doesn't turn into discrimination. That's
the thing about being an adult and about being, intelligent enough to have a conversation without getting offended. But, again, somebody once said, if you're going to have an intelligent conversation and you want to state your views, you have to risk that you're going to offend somebody.
Yes.
But that's unfortunate that has to happen. Nolan. Hey, Nolan. I was raised Catholic and love Jesus Christ. My words were the truth. Okay, this is done Mr. Navarro that they're talking about in these comments.
Yeah, remember it was Mr. Navarro and my partner that they were talking about.
The partner. Yeah. Okay.
Partner.
Okay, Nolan, while we got you there, let's see. I believe that you stand on the issues that will push Brownsville forward and lead to the problems being fixed and moving Brownsville forward. I agree, too. I don't see anything to the contrary there.
Thank you.
Here, from Corinne. Now, Mr. Navarro, you're still with us. Read Navarro's post on Facebook calling Jessica a bigot, KKK, and homophobic. Never saw that. I'd like to see that.
And like I said, if it's a lie, I condemn it. If it's the truth, people have a right to speak the truth. But I don't endorse lies in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, Nolan Navarro. Dude, if that's true, bro, come on. Come on now. What's up with that? You can't want one thing for yourself, but then you're going to turn around and be like that. You're just sinking to a different level. Every time, if that's true, if you didn't say it, please, by all means, come out and then let us know what happened. Every time that I hosted a meet and greet for Roy, I always ask the following questions. Say something nice about your opponent. And he does always compliment his opponent. That is the way you should run a campaign. And he has. I mean, even today, he said things that were complimentary about Jessica.
Jessica has not engaged in the lying.
Nope. And I will say, she didn't do enough to, I think, say, yes, people are saying that. It didn't come from me. Didn't come from my campaign, but people are saying that. I don't agree with it. That would have been nice. Mm-hmm. But, it is what it is. Susan, I apologize. I thought Brian was your partner, but Brian Martinez posted a misleading post of a cut and pasted document.
And I think I know which one Susan's referring to. And yeah, I know that is something that was heard by the Federal Elections Commission. And it was a concern that was raised about name. But I know that was cleared. That was dismissed. I don't think there was anything to that. But I know what Susan's referring to.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Hopefully that get cleared up.
To the best of my knowledge, it was cleared up.
Thanks for clearing that up, Susan. Lydia, saying you have defended yourself against lies is a lie. Saying you have to defend yourself against lies is a lie. You are welcome to visit my Facebook page. Anything I have shared about you always has proof and video to back it up. Well, depending on where the proof is from,
right,
where the video is from, that kind of thing. But if you're just sharing stuff, how do you know it's true?
Exactly.
Saying you have to defend yourself against lies is a lie.
And no, I think, Manny, you can attest to the fact that the lie has been told that I'm the chair of the LGBTQ task force. We know
Lydia,
that's a lie. That's the lie. To refute it. And so, yes, I'm having to defend myself against a lie. So, no, it's not a lie to say that I'm having to do this. There's proof positive right there.
There's a lie that Roy wants to raise the LGBTQ flag on every building in the city of Brownsville. Every city building or everywhere in downtown, everywhere.
There's nothing to support that anywhere.
That's a lie. So anybody, including you, Lydia, you would defend yourself against a lie. Of course you would. Asinine, no one's asking what happened to you in kinder. it is very relevant if you have had issues with the law. They ask you this on the job application.
No, they do not. This is a misdemeanor. And on a job application, it's usually, have you been convicted of a felony? So no, they do not ask this question on job applications, Lydia.
This is true. I did a lot of hiring with the airlines in my time, and it's anything has to do with a felony. That's all they want to know. Okay, Lorraine, who is it we you're referring to in terms of searching for a District 3 commissioner? Are you saying this was all a devised race?
Good Lord. Not even worth answering.
Lorraine, for real. You want to answer that to some extent?
To some extent, was people that are in my circle that we talk to. Like, who's running in District 3? Anybody that we want to vote for? No.
Oh, you mean in your elite circle?
My elites, there you go. Yes, it must have been the elite circle because, that's the circle I run in.
People, come on, please. You guys are all intelligent people here. I have a question. If the first charge was PI and you were home, then why did the police show up?
Because I'd been outside asleep for 2 hours. I was outside smoking a cigarette, fell asleep. And it wouldn't surprise me if one of the neighbors thought there's some suspicious guy outside. And I'm speculating on that. I can't say why the police showed up. That would be my impression.
Oh, I'm sure somebody called and said, dude, he's out there causing some kind of scene when you were just sleeping. And I mean, it is what it is.
And I was sleeping standing up. Yeah, I'm the type that when I'm exhausted and a lot of times I overwork myself, I can absolutely fall asleep standing up.
Yeah, see, all this stuff that happened to me, I would hate to talk about all this stuff. I wouldn't like it for myself. But the fact that you are coming out with this and willing to is, I don't know.
And of course, and even here, telling the truth, that's not going to paint a flattering picture of me, but it's the truth. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, Susan is obsessed. Laughing my ass off. You go, girl. That's from Nolan. Thanks for the compliment. All right, you guys are laughing. That's a good thing. Now they make it seem like this is your opinion. This was on the police report.
Which part? What was on the police report?
About the sleeping? About the...
No idea what they were.
Let's see. Yeah, Lydia, which part are you talking about? He's not hiding from it. He just wants to know specifically which part are you talking about. He'll answer you. Susan, thanks, Nolan. I would call it passion, though. Or am I still a Nazi? Susan, yeah, I totally don't believe you're a Nazi. That word, just like there's a lot of words out there.
Mm-hmm.
Racism is one of them. The word racism, they get thrown around so much at so many situations that it starts to lose its true significance. And Nazi is a horrible thing. They were horrible people. What they did, I mean, it's unspeakable. It's horrible. But it's said in the African American community, they use the N-word between themselves like it's nothing. The minute anybody else uses it, oh, you're racist and this and that.
Right.
But it's kind of losing its significance by being thrown around so much.
Mm-hmm.
Susan, absolutely do not believe you're a Nazi. I'll defend you on that all day long. I'll defend you against that all day long. Eddie, just ignore these idiots who clearly are surrogates for Bradshaw. These folks need new material. Well, you're right on the needing new material part. I'm glad they're here, hoping to get answers.
So am I.
I'm hoping that. I mean, you can't make all the people happy all the time. But at least he's here, being open about it. I mean, I don't know what else you can do beyond that. I mean, give blood. I don't know. But is it a fact that you were arrested and charged? They are not saying that you've been convicted. What is being said is that you were arrested and charged with DUI. Where's the lie?
The lie was that I have multiple arrests for DUI, and that has been said, Karen. You can't deny that. The lie is that I'm the chair of the LGBTQ task force. The lie is that I'm one of the original architects of the task force, and that I'm coming after people's religious freedoms and liberties. Those are absolutely all lies.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are here asking these. I hope this clears it up or clears things up at some point. They're called sheep. All right, Nolan. I thought the idea was to discuss the issues, not make personal attacks on things that are not related to a city council position. And that's what he and I talked about a little earlier, was that, everything is being thrown at him about personal stuff, nothing about city issues at all. Whatsoever.
I had one show question. They're like, well, before you come on, like, we want you to be prepped on the budget because people say you don't talk about the budget at all. I said, no one's asking about the budget. I said, believe me, I mean, there's 1,000,001 things we could talk about, even with the city. But somebody could say right now, well, Roy's not talking about fire hydrants. Well, because nobody's asked a question about a fire hydrant.
Yeah. And somebody said the last time you were here is the last time or the time before that. And yes, admittedly, it's been a bunch of times, but he wants to come and defend himself and speak against certain issues, and that's fine. And somebody said to me real quick, oh man, you guys spent an hour on LGBTQ. So well, that's because that's what kept being thrown at them. And so it turned into a whole hour. That seemed to be what people wanted to hear.
And I like doing it on your show, Manny, because you're a known conservative. You're a known conservative podcast host, and I know your audience is conservative. And since that's where a lot of the circles that a lot of the lies are being told, and that's just, I mean, even friends of mine who say, I belong to a conservative group chat. And this goes back to November in the elections because I'm a Trump supporter. And they said, man, they're throwing some horrible things out there about you. And I've heard this from multiple friends of mine. And I said, and that's the circle where these lies are being told. And I'm not saying everybody in these circles is telling lies, but there's a lot of people believing the lies without fact checking. There's people telling the lies. And luckily, there's a lot of folks in those groups that know me also and that have publicly or have reached out privately and said, just so you know, we're with you. We're absolutely with you because we know you. We know you're a conservative. We know you were chair of college Republicans. You've been a lifelong conservative. But, it's not sexy to say he's a conservative. We just disagree with him. It's much sexier to say I'm a progressive, libertarian, liberal, Democrat. But I still stand by conservative, Democrat, Reagan, Republican. That's who I am.
You know what you should do on your page where you have your vote for Roy is put your DUI, your mugshot up there. Because that seems to be what they want to do, is just plaster that all over the place.
They sure do.
And then this way you can have it there and it's easy to get to.
Yep.
Nobody has to look for a post. Where is that?
I'm going to put a whole file on that page of all the photos that would be most salacious to use in attack ads. Make it real easy for you.
You're right, David Smith. There is no GOP. It is now a GQP.
Is the Q for queer? Just out of curiosity. I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Now, queer culture we embrace on our side in the LGBTQ community.
Eddie, trying to turn Texas blue would be an absolute mistake. Libs will ruin anything they touch.
Yeah, the Midas Eddie and I, just like you and I, Manny, we disagree a lot on politics, but there's a mutual respect because both of us will usually be able to talk intelligently about why we have different views.
It's the Midas touch, the opposite. Everything they touch turns to crap. Look what's going. I mean, dude, you can't tell me that everything is going perfect with the Biden administration. I mean, it's a disaster in my opinion. Kamala Harris on TV saying, "Oh, I haven't been to the border. I haven't been to Europe either." I mean, what the hell kind of answer was that? Did you see this?
I missed that. I saw headlines.
It's on my post. It's on one of my posts.
To read the stories.
It's on one of my posts. That video of Lester Holt was asking her, and she just starts cackling and laughing the way she does, and she says, "Well, I've never been to Europe either." And she's like, "I don't understand." Oh my goodness, it's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. Melida, hi. Roy, when this election began, I was unaware of any of the candidates. When I saw your interview at the end of that week, I was extremely impressed. You still have my support.
Thank you, Melida.
There you go. Susan, yes, city attorney, not manager. Got it. Then why say blue? Red is based on ideologies and policies. It just says blue, but you're calling people indirectly a fool and asinine because you don't agree with them. No, that's not what I heard either.
Anybody a fool or asinine. I said things are asinine when you're asking a question that makes absolutely no sense, or that's trying to imply something that is absolutely asinine.
Yeah, he didn't call anyone specifically. He didn't call anybody that word.
Right.
And you can go back and look at the tape later, the recording if you want. I would have said, well, okay, hold on.
Right.
You're doing something that you're being accused of. Corinne, but you don't have a problem doing it at a farmer's market.
Doing what at farmer's market? What is it that we're referring to, Corinne?
Yeah, Corinne, please get back to us with that. Corinne Garza, you're not invited. Oh, boy. Navarro's comments against Trump supporters is proof that fines should go both ways.
Nobody is
fines at all.
advocating for fines on comments.
Sheesh. And so what if they say something about
comments? So it's not possible to go both ways because nobody on this side is saying there should be fines for comments, Lydia. You're the one saying that.
Lydia, do you watch this show much? You know how much crap we give Joe Biden? You know how much crap we gave Hillary Clinton?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't care if people say stuff against Trump. So what? I mean, if they say it against him, whatever. If they say it against me because I believe in Donald Trump, then okay, that's too bad. I'm sorry you feel that way. That's your opinion. You're right. And so what? End of story. I'm not going to have you arrested because you said something about me negatively because that's what I find ridiculous. It's silly. It really is. So the log cabin Republicans are stray people. Yeah, that's accurate. Karen, I really disagree with you when you keep saying it's all personal now. People are discussing the NDO and the task force and Roy's judgment calls that affect the community. DUI, no personal attacks.
Well, one, the NDO and the task force has nothing to do with the city commission race. The task force I was appointed to long before I ever even considered running for city commission. Like I said, I would have preferred not to be the candidate in this race that people could look to for some hope. So yeah, those are not issues about the city commission race. I mean, you look at my webpage, you look at my social media, and the issues I'm focused on are city issues: infrastructure, economic development, emergency preparedness. Those are the city issues. So yeah, when the task force is about my lifestyle, because that's how those attacks are coming, is my lifestyle, and don't shove it in our face, and don't violate our beliefs, and don't do this and don't do that. Those are absolutely personal attacks.
And if it was just here and there, well, maybe it was not personal attacks, but you're talking day in and day out, every day, a few times a day, constantly, yep, daily, forever. Then that's all it's about. And that's how you know. That's how you know it's a personal attack.
And if it was just judgment calls, then the lies wouldn't have been necessary. But the fact that these attacks have had to be embellished with lies, that's very telling.
And you know what? And if you guys don't like him, whatever your reason is, then just leave it at that. Why go and make stuff up? Why to recruit others not to like him just because you don't?
Mm-hmm.
Please, come on. Go to Navarro's post on his Facebook. It's there. I hope not. Mr. Navarro, what's up? You don't want that kind of junk coming the other way. Why would you cast that yourself?
What's the it being referred to there?
That he's called Jessica KKK and not. I don't know. I forgot what else it was on there. And I mean, if he did, I don't know if he did or if he didn't. And again, I'm asking Mr. Navarro, dude, is that true? And why go that route when you certainly wouldn't accept it if it came the other way? If Smith, we need to love all our brothers and sisters because there's only one race, the human race.
Amen.
Agree there. That's the statement of the night. Okay, question from Karen. Roy, do you think Jessica is a homophobe, bigot, hateful, and part of the KKK?
I can definitely say I don't think Jessica's part of the KKK. I've seen nothing to give me that indication. On the others, I don't know Jessica well enough. It concerns me that as a candidate who wants to be in it for Brownsville, that she'll point towards things and try and hold them out as fact. That's a concern. Homophobe, it might be a stretch to go that far, but I know when someone is out there, and I saw on an Osmo show when they're talking about the pride flag divides the city. I don't see how. I don't see how a flag that is about everybody is equal, everybody is welcome, everybody should feel safe, how that divides a city, unless there are people out there who do not believe that. Because that's all it's about. To anyone who says, why are you shoving it in my face? How is flying a flag a few days out of the year, shoving in your face how is that shoving something in your face any more than, and I'm a Christian and I taught catechism, but then leading every city commission meeting with a Christian prayer? You know, why we're not up in arms about that. Nobody on this side is up in arms about the fact that there's a prayer leading every commission meeting, despite the fact that there's Supreme Court decisions that say there should be a separation of church and state. There's no Supreme Court decision that says you should not fly a flag that's about unity and equity. So no, I'm not going to go to the extent that say she's a homophobe, a bigot, or hateful. I think a lot of her supporters are, and I think that's crystal clear. I don't know Jessica well enough to be able to say that. I'm disappointed that she hasn't taken some opportunities to condemn some of the lies and the hate, but that's her prerogative.
Yeah, I would hate to think I don't think she's a homophobe. Definitely not a bigot or not hateful. Definitely not part of the KKK.
Right.
Good Lord. She lives in Brownsville, Texas. I mean, please.
Yeah, God forbid we should have KKK down here.
Oh, yeah, that's no. So 100% not. The homophobe thing, I know people around her are, and even some that are LGBTQ say a lot of things against the LGBTQ.
Oh, yeah.
And I find that hilarious.
Yeah.
But who knows? So I don't think Jessica is homophobe. But yeah, I mean, and then again, it's just the fact that she doesn't just come out and say, "Oh no, I'm not." It doesn't mean she's not either. You know, it's just, I'll just go with, I don't believe she is, and definitely not the rest of that stuff. That's silly too.
Yeah. But I hope that was a good answer for you, Karen.
Jose, Mrs. Corinne, you are funny. Nobody's getting into drag to be outside in this heat. We wouldn't ask anyone to do it. Y'all are obsessed with this agenda, and frankly, I'm going to pray for the universe to give you enough clarity and wisdom to discern fact from fiction. Task force members will be read-alongs, not in drag, just ourselves getting to know the community. Understood.
But I guarantee you there will be people that have a problem with even that going on at the farmer's market. Yep,
there will. And, you know, everybody's right to protest, so that's what makes America great, right?
Yes.
I was one of he spoke to. Roy is a good man for District 3 Commissioner. There you go, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
The alcohol level reported by Susan. I don't even know if you can discuss that or disclose it or anything.
Yeah, I'm not going to discuss that until it goes to court.
But when it does, and when it comes out, I guarantee you he's going to say, "Hey, tomorrow's court. Let's do a show tomorrow night." You know, watch that happen.
And honestly, what I will say, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but I can't read a police report and say, "Yep, everything in there is 100% factual," especially when something like alcohol level, as far as I recall, that was determined in tests afterwards. I haven't seen the test results. So I don't know. Was a number transposed? Is something off? I don't know. And I'm not going to make that allegation. I'm not saying that. I'm not making that allegation.
And I've seen blood alcohol levels come out different 3 times in a row, just minutes apart. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
Physically, I've been there to see that happen. So it does happen. And yeah, there you go. Manny's defending him and all this crap.
The check's in the mail, Manny. The check's
the check for goose eggs, right? Yeah,
that's right. Double.
So I'm sure, I know Roy by now, once this court date appointment has come and gone, he's gonna send me a message. Go, all right, let's talk about it tonight, or let's talk about it tomorrow. This is what happened, and you know that will happen. Manny, I don't know what you know and don't, but maybe I need to send some things to you. Send them. Please send them. I'm not going to hide them. Roy sent me a bunch of stuff regarding the LGBTQ task force and how that all came about and the names that are on there. So we have documents if you guys want to see those also. And we can send them to you as well if you like. I'd rather display them so you know we're not modifying anything.
And I did that so that there couldn't be anything that I could say that nobody knows for sure. When I did that show, and that was, I think, when we had Mr. Castro on, is I wanted Manny to be able to keep me in check. That I wasn't just saying things, but they were absolutely based in fact.
Yeah, Susan, by all means, if you have things you want to show, absolutely, we'll take a look at it. And if there's something sketchy or fishy or weird or strange, we'll bring it up. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Or that disproves anything I've said. Would love to see it.
Roy has never said, I don't want to talk about this, or I don't want to talk about that. You know, or I think if he didn't want to talk about it, he wouldn't be on here so many freaking times like somebody said. You know? Lorraine, Joey Nosa. So then why didn't Mr. Dos Santos brush off my question? He kept saying we, so I was curious. Very rude response by him and Mr. Fosu.
And the reason I brushed it off, Lorraine, is because the implication was that it was some planned or conspiracy on what this race was going to be. And you know, you did that. It was on the screen. You know, the implication that there was some type of collusion going on as far as who was going to be the candidate and how this race was going to come out, that was ridiculous. That's why I did not think your question was worth answering. But I don't think it's rude to respond to a question that's making insinuations like that, which are unfounded. That's just spreading a conspiracy theory again without any proof whatsoever.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I apologize. I definitely wasn't meaning to be rude. Definitely not.
Yep.
If you've watched me for any amount of time, anybody will tell you that I'm not rude to anyone at all. So if it came off that way, my apologies, but I did not mean it. Just what Roy said. It's some of these things are silly that are being brought up.
And it could have been asked that who's the we when you say we, Mr. De Los Santos. That could have been the question. But it went from are you saying this was an organized effort or whatever the word was that Lorraine used? It didn't just stop at a legitimate question. It went into try and paint some conspiracy there. Famous
words. So you're saying, and some people out there know what I'm talking about. So you're saying, yeah, that's for a different show. Jose, these people will never be satisfied with any response. They do all this work for JPB for free. Free? Like y'all could use energy for more productive things, but hey, it isn't my life. So I don't know. Maybe they're getting paid. Maybe Jessica's paying people. You know, that's what they insinuate about me and you.
No kidding.
Maybe they're getting paid. They must be getting paid. That's what's behind it.
I think you've even said it, Manny. You know that if people like Jessica and I were working together, imagine the things we could accomplish.
Oh my goodness, it's unbelievable. You got factually two great minds. Man, you guys that would be something.
Yeah, and
it's too bad you guys are in different races.
I'm not trying to fight my opponent. I'm not trying to play politics. I'm just running for the city, trying to be a public servant.
Yeah, the two great minds and the others that have run and didn't win. I think everybody has something to contribute. And when you decide to work together instead of fight each other, a lot of great things could be accomplished.
Yes.
I apologize for thinking you were arrested twice. I didn't know it was when you were smoking outside and fell. My bad.
See, now Perfect. I never fell. I was standing up when the cops were there. You
were asleep standing up. How do you do that?
Oh, it's years of practice, I guess.
I can't sleep. I mean, you'd have to be in a real deep sleep and not fall over. I mean, it couldn't have been a deep sleep if you were standing up, unless you were leaning on a building or something.
I was, my patio had a brick wall around it. I was leaning up against the wall.
Oh, okay. Different story. I thought you were just freestanding.
Oh, no, not freestanding.
Well, that clears that up, because that's what I kept thinking.
And did not fall. And let me clarify, in Lydia's defense, Lydia, yes, I was arrested twice, but that first arrest was related to the PI, but it wasn't public intoxication. That was dismissed. It was related. Yeah, I was arrested for PI, but it's while I was smoking in front of my condo.
And PI means public intoxication, right? For those who
it wasn't public property, it was private property.
Jose, Corinne Garza, anything else? That's all right, Jose. Roy's doing just fine, though. Appreciate the support for him, though. Defend you. I do believe there is exactly where the path went off. Yes, accusations hurt, but the effort you give out is exhausting. Nothing wrong with letting time be the judge, time and voters.
And I wish my detractors believed in that.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's ever had things said against them would want to defend themselves at some point. They're like, all right, enough is enough. Manny, I got to talk about this crap. It's all these lies and misconceptions, mostly false truths.
Yep.
And if you don't like them, you just don't like them. You don't vote for them. You don't have to create stuff. Sheesh. Jose, I wonder if these people could spew JPB's platform and agenda as a candidate, and they can see these obsessive questions. Well, I mean, hopefully we're talking a lot of it out right now. I wanted to make sure you got a question on fire hydrants. If elected, what color would Brownsville paint its fire hydrants? Are they going to say, are they red? Are they red? I don't even know if they're red.
Clearly, I can't say red or blue, Manny. So I'll have to go with my favorite color, green. I would paint them all green.
Green, huh?
Well, only because it's safe. That's probably a bad color because it'll get lost in tall grass and you can't find the fire hydrant. But if I say red, I'm gonna offend people on the left. If I say blue, I'm gonna offend people on the right. How about silver?
How about gray? Yeah, silver or gray or something.
Silver, gray, that stands out. Doesn't
right in the middle.
Nice and neutral.
How about yellow? Yellow's a good fire hydrant color.
Yellow's my mama's favorite color.
Although you're gonna throw the dogs off, they're gonna be looking for some. Let's see. Jose comments. Mr. Del Santos, this is from Lynn. What's your specific target in bettering infrastructure? I was gonna ask you that also. Is the drainage system? If so, what areas of Brownsville? Is it better road paving to avoid huge potholes every time it rains? Will you have a safety plan for hurricane season for Brownsville residents? Can you kindly provide some details so I can understand what you will improve in this area? Thanks in advance. Yeah, that was going to be my questions. Let's talk about infrastructure a little bit. Is there anything in particular that you would like to see improved or fixed?
I would like to see more money going to roads because I think it's crystal clear to anybody who lives in Brownsville and drives in Brownsville that we're always playing catch up when it comes to potholes and roads. And that's unfortunate. There's no reason for that. We've just got to reprioritize how we spend and ensure we're not cutting tax rates when we know there are still needs that are being unmet for our citizens. Drainage, that's definitely a problem as well in several areas of the city. And I'd have to look at that with Public Works and with meeting with different groups of the citizens to find out where the problems are the worst. And we prioritize wherever the worst problems are. That's where we've got to start and work our way down from there. But make sure they're all on the list of things that we're tackling. Safety plan for hurricane season for Brownsville residents. I'm hopeful that we have one already, but considering the winter storm, I'm not confident in that. So like President Reagan said, trust but verify. So we need to go in there and verify that there is a good emergency plan that can be applied, not just for hurricanes, but any other type of storm. And that part of that plan includes communication in advance. We're fortunate down here. This isn't like a lot of the Midwest. And I know sometimes the Upper Valley every now and then sees a tornado. We don't see that in Brownsville, thank God. We have advance notice of things that are coming. We know when a winter storm is coming. We know when a hurricane is coming. So we need to get ahead of that and be proactive in our communication. And, I think we saw a lot of missed opportunities in that winter storm, but I think we also saw recovery to some extent, even if it wasn't as timely as some of us would have liked. So definitely having a safety plan, a hurricane plan, that's essential to Brownsville. We should have that playbook ready to go, and we should revisit it regularly to make sure it's updated as the needs of the city change. And I think that covers all of those.
Yeah, better road pavings for potholes. I have to say, when it comes to road paving, there's a piece of what street is that? Roosevelt, right in between. I think it's 14th and McDavitt.
Okay.
That little piece there was recently paved. It was blacktop, and it was great. It needed it for a long time. And the rest of it has since been blacktopped also. But I'm concerned with the quality of the work. It's like this.
And that's one of my biggest concerns, Manny, is we've got roads that it's constant. Now we know that there are ways to build better, stronger, more durable roads, and that we do that when we know it's something that's going to be heavy traffic or heavyweight vehicles going over it. But I think in those areas where we see these streets where it's a constant problem, then when we go in there to repair, let's not just throw some asphalt over the top of it. What can we do to dig down on this and let's fix something once and for all that's going to last? Yeah.
And I know it's tough in the Texas heat.
It is.
Which the average temperature year round, in case y'all didn't know this, even with the cold, the average temperature year round is like 94 degrees.
Oh, good Lord.
On average. So, and that heat does something to the pavement. It's rough on anything.
Yep.
Snoopy, hey, nice to see you. Good evening, gentlemen. Where's my Bam? Yeah, Bam, taking the night off. He wasn't feeling well yesterday. I decided to let him have a break today. When will you all know the results of this election, and what is your first order of business if you win?
I think by 8 p.m. or maybe 8:30 p.m. on June 19th, we should have a real good idea, because the early vote numbers will be out. And I know the way we saw it with the general election, what came out in the early vote held pretty steady with election day. There were just slight percentages that fluctuated from there. So yeah, I think by 8:30 p.m. on June 19th, we'll have a good idea. First order of business, the permitting process, tackling that. And with a lot of these things that I want to do, 546 help and even PUB, we need to do quality checks. And that's looking at everything from whether it's a permit, whether it's a PUB complaint, whether it's a citizen complaint at 546 help. Pulled 20 cases, 30 cases over the last 6 months and look at how they were handled from start to finish. Send surveys to those people involved in any of those permits, any of those complaints, or anything with PUB, and ask, how satisfied are you with the experience? What can we be doing better?
Yeah.
And I said this on a radio broadcast earlier, with PUB being a monopoly, it can be a blessing and a curse when we have our own utility, because it's another source of revenue. But at the same time, if it's a curse, or rather if it's a monopoly, then there's not a lot of incentive for them to provide great customer service, because you don't have a choice. Where are you going to go if you don't like it? So I think it's important, though, that we then set a bar that's higher for ourselves and say, other cities that own utilities, where are the citizens very happy, very satisfied? What does the average customer service quality score look like there? And where are we in comparison to that? And then we need to make sure our leadership is working toward that.
Yep. For the roads, I think the paved roads at Blacktop, I think you get what you pay for. And I think it's time to start spending a little more and get better quality. I don't know if these were local people or I don't know how that works, but the quality is definitely not there. I come from Chicago. I know the roads there. I know the quality of things when they're done over there, and that's what I compare everything to. So I know it could be done better. And let's see. Linda says, there is hope if you, Roy, are nothing like Eddie. She laughs. We know what you're talking about. Ben, hey, what's up, Ben? Say hi to Chicago for me. I don't care Biden or Trump as long as my Social Security check comes every month. I'm happy, and you can take that to the bank. Amen. Eddie says, Roy did not call anyone specifically asinine or fool. However, yep, we just addressed that. Thanks, Eddie. I agree with you when you say you don't make stuff up. Awesome. Thank you for that. And it's true. I mean, you could watch all the videos you want. He's what you see is what you get, as far as I'm concerned. Just because people don't agree with the LGBTQ agenda does not make them homophobic. Yeah, I agree. I don't believe they're homophobic. I have friends that are gay and do not stand with the BAM doesn't stand with the LGBTQ. A lot of the stuff that they. So yeah, and we said that a little while ago. I don't think just because they don't agree with it, it doesn't make them homophobic. So Lydia, we agree with that for sure. Jose, again, if we take a step back and ask ourselves, why are some of these people so pressed that queer and trans people want equal treatment and protections? Why do people feel like that is such an issue for you? Just things to think about. Yeah,
it's not about special rights. It's not about new rights or special treatment. It's just about equal.
Yep. Yeah, and that's true.
What's wrong with that?
And I got my opinions on that too. But I mean, and you can't call me homophobe. I grew up in, besides San Francisco, gay America part of Chicago. And it's called Boys Town. That's where I grew up. And, my mom took me every year to see the Pride Parade. Little kid sitting on the curb watching the Pride Parade, sitting there with my mom. So I was exposed to it. She just didn't want to go alone. I'm the boy. I'm her little boy. So I went with her. And she always explained to me, people are people. Don't judge them about that. It's, if you are like that, when you find out when you're older, well, then you are. And if you're not, just let people live. And we rented apartments to them. We had a building, and I dealt with them every day of my life, virtually. So I consider myself lucky like that,
Definitely.
Wish more people would have experienced that. You grow up. I feel lucky that I was born and raised in Chicago, which is a melting pot of everything. Mm-hmm. And and I wish more people would experience that. So we can
And
put
you know,
this.
and that's important because, and I agree 100% when I hear people say hate. People aren't born into hate. Hate is something you learn.
Good night, Lori.
Good night, Lori. Hate is something you learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what this movement is about is, and like you say, you were fortunate enough to grow up in an area where you got exposure to all of this. So it's all normal to you. There's nothing out of the ordinary, off the wall. You know, these are people, everyone's part of our society, different races, different colors, different creeds, everything out there. And I think that's what a lot of this effort is about, is making sure that those in our community who are part of the LGBTQ community are comfortable being themselves, and that more and more people realize that, yeah, we're your brothers, your sisters, your nephews, your grandsons, your friends, your coworkers.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't even realize we were gay. We're just citizens, other Americans, just like everybody else.
Very true. Did you hear from Snoopy? Did you all hear about the judge up here in San Antonio fighting to have the right to keep the LGBTQ plus flag in her courtroom? Seems like the situation with the flag is happening all over the place. Your thoughts on that in the courtroom?
I had not heard that, and I would need to look a little more closely at the judicial code. And I'm not sure if it varies from county to county or city to city or from the state, but it should be about the law. You know, is there a law that says a judge can't fly something like that? And again, I don't think LGBTQ flags, I don't consider them political. It's about equality. It's just like, you know, to me, it's like the 14th Amendment, equal protection of the laws for everyone.
Yeah, and I get that, but I would, to me, in a courtroom, the United States flag, the state flag, the county flag, the city flag, perhaps, if it's a municipal court, and I say leave it at that. Everything else, this is all about, again,
that makes sense.
You allow that flag, now you got to allow this flag, then you got to allow that flag, and then you got to allow everybody's group.
But that's the thing, Manny, and that's why I say I have to look at it to see what the standard is, though. Are judges given discretion? If you were the judge and you say, I'm Judge Manny, this is my courtroom, and these are the flags I want to fly, and the law allows that, then I shouldn't have a problem with it. Even if you're flying something that I disagree with philosophically or politically, if the law allows you as the judge to say, in my courtroom, this is how we're going to do it, and it's not violating the law, I'd have to respect that.
Understood. Snoopy, also, from what I've seen, Jessica is very open to entering into different types of dialogue. Manny, have you thought about having Roy and Jessica both at the same time so all assumptions are squashed? Yes, I reached out to her today. I'm reaching out to her again tomorrow. I think she's going to be on somewhere in the morning on a show, from what I heard. But I'm not 100% on that.
And I've committed, Snoopy, I think a couple of weeks ago when I was last on with Manny, that I'm willing to get on so that we can have, whether it's a forum, whether it's a debate, I think it makes sense to have both of the candidates out there.
Or kind of like a discussion that you and Mr. Castro had, and you just hash out things, and kind of a less formal thing, you know, where everybody can speak a little more freely.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd be totally okay with that also. I'll try to make that happen. Many times police reports contain hearsay and portions that may not be admissible. This is true too. I don't know if the level is admissible or not. The alcohol level reading.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Corinne, what books will we be reading at the farmer's market?
I don't have the answer to that. I think Mr. Jose Colon might have the answer to that.
Fair question to ask.
Yep. But I do know, even though I don't know the titles offhand, I do know they're children's books.
All right. Prayer in our government is part of our country's history. It was started even before our founding fathers. And our country was founded on Christian values. That is a difference.
No, that's not really the difference, because even though we were founded on Christian values, the Supreme Court has held there has to be a separation. And because our Constitution even says that the government shall pass no law with respect to establishing a national religion. So there's no difference. There isn't. And that's why there have been several judicial decisions that have come down that say a school can't, like football games, in some states, you can't open with a prayer there because of the separation of church and state. So yeah, just to say it was founded on Christian values, so what, now Christians can do anything and everything they want? No, that's not an argument that would hold water. And that's not the difference there. There's absolutely no difference. It's like I say, it's not shoving it in the face of anyone. I'm a Christian, and I don't think it's shoving it in anybody's face when we pray. By the same token, I don't think flying a flag to let people in the community who feel marginalized know that this is a safe place for them and that they are welcome and that we are equal. I don't see that as shoving it in anybody's face either. And anybody that feels that people being proud of who they are is shoving it in your face, I just don't see how you connect those two.
Exactly. Well said. Lorraine, you're okay. Don't call nobody stupid. Ben didn't mean that. If he did, we certainly don't, do not agree with that. At least I don't agree with that judgment at all. So Ben, chill, brother. I know you're better than that, bro. Roy, what can be done so the police could be more proactive about the search for Kimberly?
You know, I'd really have to dig into more on that case. I know just a lot of what's out in the public about it, but I know when it comes to cases, sometimes a case goes cold. There just aren't enough new clues to follow up on. I don't know if that's the case here. I don't know if there are leads that have not been pursued. I don't know if there are new things that have come up since that need to be looked into. I don't know enough about the facts of this case to be able to say. So I can't say that the police are or are not being proactive because I don't know enough of the details of the history. But I think those are conversations that several folks, even members of the task force, have had with elected officials, both at the local level and at the state level. I know they've engaged law enforcement, and I know they work very closely with the Avila family. And I applaud those efforts because if there's an opportunity to close a cold case, we should absolutely do it because families deserve closure when they've got a loved one who's missing. Yeah,
and I truly believe when this first broke, I think a lot was done to try to find out what happened. Very unfortunate situation there.
Yes.
We're going to start wrapping up on these comments because I said we weren't going to go multiple hours, and here we are at over 2 already. Never fails. But hopefully you guys are getting some of the answers you want. And hopefully this is in your it's satisfactory to you anyway. Again, if you have a difference of opinion, well, that's a whole other story. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But hopefully you're getting some answers. Okay, Susan sent me a file here, which I'm going to pop up on the screen here. Give me just a second. There it is. See if it'll let me blow this up. Dang it. Here it is. Okay. All righty. We are looking at, this is an email. Let me take this comment off. All right. Do you know what we're looking at here, Roy?
Yep. I recall that. And yeah, that is not to an attorney and that is not to the city manager, first and foremost, as was alleged. Let's scroll down because the one on top is their response to me.
This one or for this one.
So we're ready to move forward on the proposed NDO and advance to legal for their review. That is all that's going on right now is a legal review. There's nothing that should imply that this is the final, that we want these words in front of the commission. If that were the case, then why even go through legal? This is still discussion that is being had because it's appropriate to have legal discussion well in advance of it ever going to the city commission, because there are things that may not gel well with existing city ordinance. There may be things that we're not taking into consideration that legal might have an opinion on. So that's why the next step in the discussion from just talking amongst ourselves was bringing in legal experts, and now city legal is one of those. Now, ideally, I'd like to see this ready for consideration sometime in May in advance of Pride Month or June. That was the intent at the time, but it wasn't about these are the words, this is the language, this must be the final draft. Nothing in there implies that. This was moving forward what was evolving at the time to the next phase, which was legal review. That's all that is.
Sounds fair to me. I mean, it is what it is right there for their review.
That's right.
Susan, does that clear that up for you? And sincerely, I asked that because I want you guys to feel comfortable with how these things are being responded to.
And let me say, for the record, whenever it comes to a recommendation from the city commission, it's highly unlikely that's going to be from an email from me. This is something that will likely come from the task force in an official report in chambers during a city commission meeting, and that would be part of the data that's considered by the commission. And remember with ordinance also, it's got to go through a lengthy process, even at the commission level. There has to be a first reading, second reading, public hearings, citizen input. All of those mechanisms are in place.
So it doesn't just happen and okay, it's done.
Right. And even once we recommend something, even once the task force says this is the recommendation we want to get behind, it will still very likely change even more and evolve even more.
Yeah, you're right. As those things do happen like that. Typo. Yeah, Lydia, we knew you meant to say that he fell asleep. Ben, you people got on here and they got their heads so far up their ass. You go, Roy. God bless. Yeah, Ben's not one to mix up words, is he?
No, he's not. I appreciate the support, Ben.
Snoopy. Roy, did you ever get to have that lunch at Osmo and discuss stuff about what's in the best interest of the city? I could have sworn you were all mentioning it. Yeah, I'll tell you what happened there. We had that discussion that night, and I honestly, the minute it was over, it was like it never even happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the other program started, and they were back to the original, how that show is. And it was like a total waste of time, I think.
So to answer that, Snoopy, no, we've never had lunch because, the whole narrative changed right after. Before I was even off the air with Manny, the narrative had already changed on the other show. And the other show has devolved into, there must be sexual favors now between me and Manny because he's my biggest champion.
That's what he said, Snoopy. In case if you didn't catch it, I've got the video. I've got the clip. He insinuated, Roy, for those of you who didn't hear, I know you've been here for a while. Thank you for hanging out with us, all of you. But either Roy must be paying me or doing me sexual favors. That's the insinuation that's being said by someone else about me, and because Roy's on here a lot.
And like Snoopy, obviously you saw the show that day with all three of us on there. Is there anything?
Yeah. It looked good, right? It looked good that everybody was going to work together, kumbaya, and you guys are going to be friends now and have lunch. And then the second it was over, all that went out the window. It was just like, why bother? So unfortunately, I don't see anything happening there. Although Roy wouldn't be opposed to it, but if that kind of thing is going to keep happening, then why play with the charade? Lydia says, "Thank you for clarifying." That's what we're here for. Just want to clarify. We don't want any misconceptions. Want to get cleared up. He wants to clear them up. I'm going to let him clear them up, whatever it is. As a military man and a Catholic, I agree in the power of prayer. However, since I served in the Middle East and have friends who are Jewish and Muslim, guess what they believe in? God. Yeah, this is true. Did you say potheads or potholes, niece? Funny, Ben. Crack me up. David Smith, with all the problems Brownsville has, this is what the people want to focus on? Yes. Public corruption, roads, jobs, and how to move the city forward should be the issues discussed.
Amen.
Yes. And you know what? We're probably going to do, I don't know. We'll see what happens before Saturday, the 19th. How could anyone let someone who was an admin for a Confederate group on Facebook run for commissioner, let alone her fan group go on and bash the gay community? I'm going to bed.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Admin for a Confederate group on Facebook.
How could anyone who let someone who was an admin for a Confederate group? Hey, show me the evidence. Show the evidence.
Nolan, if he's going to bed, night Nolan.
Later, Nolan. But yeah, you got evidence? Show it. Susan had something she had a question on. She sent me a document. We showed it. Roy spoke about it. So yes, I'll display stuff on both sides. Okay, you got it. Eddie, should there be a restriction on how many times a candidate can run for office without winning? for those wanting term limits, there should also be a limit on running. Well, I don't think you can't put a limit on that.
It's an interesting idea. It's got merit. It does have merit, but I don't know if it'll survive constitutional muster. It's not the way the law is written today.
Yeah, that's funny. How would you propose to your fellow, this is from Lynn, how would you propose to your fellow commissioners on how to bring in other franchise restaurants or stores to help boost our economy? How would you make things come to fruition even if your fellow commissioners disagree with you? What are your economic development plans for if you win? Obviously, don't give every little detail away, I'm sure. But, I mean, that would be nice to have more.
My ideas do tend to get stolen. I know, like the idea of doing a town hall every quarter. I know that's something I talked about.
You were the one. You were the first one to bring it up. Yep, you were the first one to bring it up.
And even within the last 3 weeks, I've heard people say, well, Jessica's the only one who's committed to holding a quarterly town hall. No, that's not true. Fake news.
Go look at the first tape, the first interview that Roy when he came on the first time, and that's where he made that comment. Anyway,
those fellow commissioners on franchise restaurants. So new business is important to boosting the local economy. I don't think we do enough for local mom and pop restaurants, and that's an area I think we need more focus in. As far as attracting other businesses to the city, one, we have to look at the value they would bring, the jobs they would create, the taxes they would pay. And so from an economic development perspective, one thing that's important to me is changing the dynamic of how we handle incentives and abatements. You know, we can all refer to at least one example, and there are multiple, of times where property taxes get waived for corporations for their first 5 years or however long, and all the jobs are going to create for our community. And there are times where those never come to fruition, yet they reap the benefits those first few years of not having to pay any property taxes. That's a concern for me. I would rather have a situation where the benefits don't get realized until the delivery happens for the citizens of Brownsville. And you've got to prime the pump with that as well. You've got to say, okay, if they were looking for 5 years of abatements, first, let's cut it in half. Let's say 50%, not 100%. Let's spread it out over 10 years. And then now let's say, let's not start that until, if you're saying you're going to create 500 jobs, then let's stage it and stagger it. When you've got halfway there, then we can start to look at implementing 50% of those benefits. When you're 100% there, then we can implement 100% of those benefits. Because even though the benefit would have more value for those companies in the long run, especially if we say instead of 10 years, we'll now do it 15 years. So it's going to be better for you as a company, but you're only going to realize those benefits if you've produced the jobs for Brownsville. And you're still going to be paying 50% property taxes, if nothing else. So there will be some type of contribution to the local economy. So that's one way I'd like to change the approach on how we handle abatements and attracting new business. See, the others were...
Here, I'll put it up here. How would you make things come to fruition even if your fellow commissioners disagree with you? So if you have a disagreement on how any particular issue should go.
I'd like to think, given the working relationship I've got with the folks on the commission today and the relationship that I have no doubt I would have, should there be a new commissioner in District 4, we can work together. I think there is enough common sense on the commission out there, and even though there are differences of opinions, ultimately, I think good ideas that are net good for Brownsville will have public support, public opinion support, and the commission will ultimately go along with that. So even though there may be some disagreement, I don't see a problem in getting good decisions implemented.
Okay, something else I want to bring up here in just a second. Thank you for that, Lynn. Will you help push for the completion of the I-69 corridor to Houston to help with job creation in Brownsville and Cameron County?
Absolutely. I mean, there's not a lot the city can do other than push and lobby for it, because that's interstate. So that's out of our purview. But anything that's going to be a net positive for job creation and for the local economy are things I'll absolutely support as a commissioner. And I would encourage my other colleagues to do the same.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely would help. I suspect, Eddie, I suspect it isn't much of an issue in Brownsville due to overwhelming majority Hispanic population. But any chance Brownsville allows or pursues CRT or other similar agendas?
I don't know. I think for the most part, a lot of Brownsville, you'd probably have to explain what critical race theory is.
I'm not a fan of
the charter schools, the private schools, and even the public schools, I don't know enough about the curriculum to be able to answer that intelligently. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah, the critical race theory was something that is undermining America, that you're an American, you're not a color, you're not a race, you're an American, which is how things are supposed to be. And for a while, things were like that. Mm-hmm. They're getting to that point. It's not perfect. I'm not saying it was.
Right.
But the critical race theory, and it's almost like the cancel culture. They're almost like the cancel culture. And, all they care about is that you're brown, and that's the most important thing. And that so-and-so is white and so-and-so is yellow or whatever color you want to name it. They're saying, and that's kind of goes, I think, in my opinion, flows with a group identity. That's what the Soviet Union was based on as group identity. And so you're getting into that kind of territory there. I'm not a fan of that, and that'll turn this country upside down if we don't, find a way to put an end to that. Read up more on that. That's it's an interesting thing that's going on with that.
I'll do that. I'll read up on that.
So on September 17, 2021, we will be recognizing POW MIA Day. So, Manny, no flags. Okay. I said no flags. Military flags, yes. Any military, obviously, they gave up their lives for us to be where we are. POWs don't get the support that they deserve at all. Those still people missing in action to this day. Military flags, 100%. I'm saying any other kind of flag is what I'm saying. If we got to be specific.
And even if the POW flag were not an official sanctioned branch of the military flag,
yeah,
somebody flying it, that doesn't mean you now have to fly every other flag. That's not what it means.
Exactly. So yes, Roy, if I lived in your district, you'd have all my people and customers vote, but I'm in District 4.
Now, I'll bet you've got customers who live in 3, Ben, and I'm sure you've got friends and family in 3, so please encourage them to come out and vote.
Read the entire email. So she's saying you didn't read something on that email.
Let's go back to it.
Okay. Susan, if you're listening, if you can hear it, we're going back to that email.
Yep, I thought we had all the paragraphs on it, but let's see if there was something earth-shattering that we left out.
Okay. Thank you, Roy, for sending the proposed NDO. I'll prepare an email with a memo to the city attorney's office, and we'll let you know once it has been assigned. We're ready to move forward on the proposed NDO and advance to legal department. That's what that means. Advance it to the legal department for their review. The NDO has been rebranded as a fair practices ordinance in accordance with recommendations from our equality partners. So I don't know what there is in there that.
Well, let's get the rest of it. Ideally, I'd like to see this ready for consideration by the commission sometime in May, 60 days in advance of Pride Month, or in June, 90 days, so that it may be adopted during Pride Month. And I spoke about that, how that's what we'd like. We'd like to see a final draft ready for that. And the timetable doesn't look like that's going to happen. But that was about, we'd like to see something final by then. That was not implying that this was the final draft. Let me know once council is assigned, and I'll work with them to determine if the proposed timeline works. I don't see anything we didn't touch on. Do you, Manny?
No.
I got wrong. Sorry, my cat scratched me.
Ouch. Yeah.
I've got a blind kitty. And so, yeah, he feels around a lot. I haven't trimmed his nails. And yeah, he just got my shin.
Okay, we just did that. He didn't read the whole thing. Well, we just did.
Yeah.
And if you want us to read the fine print or the what do you call that at the bottom? The
disclaimer.
Yeah, the rider, whatever that is.
That's the city of Brownsville disclaimer. That's not mine, but let's see. Intended for the use of the individual. Yeah, it's just the usual standard boilerplate legal language.
Yeah. Yep.
Any views or opinions expressed in this message are those of the individual sender, not necessarily those of the city of Brownsville. I don't think we're missing anything of substance.
No.
My signature line, thank you, Roy de los Santos, my phone number, my email address, my campaign email. I don't think we're missing anything big in here.
I think that the U.S. Georgina, thank you. I think that our USA flag stands for unity and includes everyone already, so we don't really need another one. Yeah, I can go that way too.
Well, so if we said that we don't really need another one, then why do we fly state flags? Why do we fly military flags? If we don't need any other flag than the U.S. flag, that's the argument you're making, Georgina.
Well, as far as the country flag, and states are going to have their own flags. They're all incorporated at different times, and they were all different or not in existence until. I get her point. And again, this is I agree. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the LGBTQ community having their own flag or logo or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But the U.S. flag is supposed to mean that also. And I think lately that's been perverted.
True.
Definitely by the far left, turning this country into a joke. More on that on a different show. I did not lie about the final draft being forwarded to city attorney for review and approval in June.
One, you said it was forwarded to the city manager, and that was not the case. Two, final, especially with the capital F there, that implies that that's it. This is it. This is the vote up, vote down on what we're proposing, and that's not true either. So it's a complete misrepresentation to say this is the final end all and be all that's being proposed by Roy de Los Santos or by the task force. There's been no proposal to the city commission or recommendation to the city commission yet. It's an evolving document, just like any other bill in the Senate, in the House, anywhere else in this country, in the legislature. So yes, implying that this is final, that it's not going to change. That's the implication when you say final. This isn't going to change. That's absolutely misleading the public.
Gotcha. I agree. I think it was addressed completely. Well, after reading it, it sure looked like it.
Looked like what?
That it was final?
I'm not
really?
sure.
He thinks it looks final?
I mean, it's stamped draft in big red.
I don't even see the word final anywhere. I don't see.
Yeah.
I don't even see the word final in here at all anywhere.
It's not in there.
So I don't know what they're trying to get out of that. One last question, Mr. De Los Santos. I heard on another forum that you had been involved with the Pink Ape media. Is that true? Just fact checking personally with you. Thank you for your time tonight.
And yes, I've been very public about that. Pink Ape Media is handling the public relations and media consulting end of my campaign. And I know we talked about that on the first show where we were talking about the accusations when there was questions about affiliation with Sylvia Atkinson. Pink Ape Media and I worked together on a movie project in 2017, and Rodrigo Moreno has become a friend. And when I was looking at agencies for my campaign, the two I considered were Pink Ape Media because of our business relationship, and Breeden McCumber because of my long relationship with them as part of Sombrero Festival. So I'm absolutely involved with Pink Ape Media.
Involved as that you're a client of theirs.
I'm a client of theirs, but I also consider them a friend. I consider the owner a very good personal friend of mine. And I know a lot of people had concerns about that, but I know now that the case has been adjudicated with the school board member, you know, nothing has evolved as far as, okay, there's a plea or some type of an agreement or anything going on with Pink Ape or its owners. They were just cooperating with the government to make sure that if there was wrongdoing going on by an elected official, that justice was served. So that's a company that, as far as I'm concerned, is reputable. They've done nothing illegal that I've ever seen. There's nothing unscrupulous going on there. If there were, I wouldn't be involved with them.
Understood. Eddie says it was perverted by Kaepernick and his supporters. And it was perverted by a lot of things. And that situation didn't help either. A draft. Hello.
And it still didn't say final draft.
It's a draft. A draft means it's
It's a working document.
Yeah. It's like when you're typing an email and you can't get to it, you got to fix it later, finish it later. It'll save it to your drafts, which means it's something in progress. Yep. And you know that, Susan. I don't have to explain that to you, but that's what that means. It doesn't say final anywhere in that document. I already corrected myself about city attorney and manager. Yes, she did correct herself earlier on that. I was making a comment to Susan about lying about her comment. Well, she did fix that.
Okay.
And I just wanted to address Keep Dancing. He's saying she's not satisfied. You're still tap dancing around.
She's never going to be satisfied.
You know, she claims that you're still playing the victim. And I don't know.
You're pretty fair and unbiased.
Susan, do you want to come on the live and discuss it instead of going back and forth in comments? You're welcome to do that if you want to. I am not a fan of the drag queens reading to kids. Personal opinion, my opinion. You know, if you don't agree with it, fine. If you agree with that thing, that's fine too. But that's just my opinion, you know. But it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that I believe Roy is trying to turn the city gay or anything like that. It's not. That's just my opinion. I can have my opinion, and I can still be friends with Roy, or I don't know. Susan sent me a message. It's a private message, so I'm not going to read it publicly. But if somebody wants to come on and discuss things head to head versus in a comment, I can send you a link, and you guys are free to come on right now. I know I was trying to keep it short, but in the interest of clearing things up, or at least trying to address them, I'm staying here longer because I'm trying to get everybody satisfied. I think
that there are some that will never be satisfied, Manny.
I think, like we said earlier, a candidacy should be, it's about the city and the real issues. I mean, because somebody's gay or wants to flag up or not. I mean, if there's something, you're trying to get at, just come out with it. You know what I mean? Quit tap dancing around a certain thing. Just come out and say it if there's something you don't like. Manny, now you know I know where the heads are. I'm not going to say it like Ben, but
Amen.
We need more Bob Marley in the world. One life, one love. Let's get together and be all right. Great song.
Yes.
Neither do I. Okay. And Elizabeth, explain about white supremacists. Oh, no, Elizabeth.
That 2 hours ago.
We exhausted this a couple hours ago. You know what? You're gonna have to watch earlier. It's a tattoo from a. Do you want to explain it again real quick, or do you just want to tell her?
It has to do with the old Roman Republic, the SPQR, and since our form of government is a republic, and it was a lot of republic governments are based on that old form from ancient Rome. That's something that I like and that I support, and so I've got a tattoo that says SPQR, and it's right under my original tattoo, which was a lion. But some people are saying that the SPQR has been adopted by some white supremacist groups, and there have been insinuations and questions asked. So tell us, Roy, what is this really about? What does this really mean? Trying to imply that there's something nefarious going on there.
Yeah, and it's not. And we made the comparison also to the swastika, which is originally not a Nazi symbol. They didn't create one on their own. They adopted that. They stole that from Egypt, from the Egyptians.
Yeah.
And used it for their own agenda. And, now everybody thinks that that's what it is, and it's not. Just, Liz, go back and watch the program. Once it's off the air, you can watch it tomorrow or tonight. It was all, we went into it. I think we exhausted it, and I think it's pretty well spelled out.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to call it on the one more thing. You may see Bola. Okay. Ben, I like your comment. I really do. And I know you mean well. All right. Roy, thanks for coming out. I know it was your idea in the first place, so always. You should thank me for letting you come on, right? But, make sure my check's in the mail. Make sure my check is in the mail because
double zeros this time, double zeros. So, and bottom line for it before we close out, man, is the main reason I wanted to come on was just because the rhetoric's gotten ramped up, and I want to say I condemn the hate, I condemn the lies, regardless of which side they're coming from. I don't want any of my supporters throwing hate at Jessica or throwing lies towards my opponent. Everybody, talk about facts, talk about truths, talk about the issues.
And are you being victimized? Are you a victim?
No, I'm the target of attacks, but I'm not a victim by any means. And that's why I'm willing to do this. And I know a lot of people would not want to put their family through this type of a situation. That's why people don't get involved in politics. But somebody's got to be able to stand up and have thick skin and endure. That's what I'm here for.
Everyone, thank you for being with us tonight. Hopefully a lot of the questions were addressed. If something wasn't addressed, I don't know. I mean, Susan was pretty tough, and she put everything out there so far. I don't know why anyone else wouldn't. Roy made himself available to answer anything A to Z. And he still will. If you want to message him or message me and I can pass it along, or message him, he will answer whatever you need to know.
And one last message, Manny, because I know with the question of my pending charge, the other question that's been raised is why the law enforcement would endorse me, why the Brownsville Police Officers Association.
Oh, yes.
You know, one, that's a group, and they're looking out absolutely for what's in the best interest of Brownsville. And as far as you've got to make sure our police officers are taken care of, because they've got a very important job and a very important role. And we need to make sure that that's preserved so they're not distracted and overburdened when it comes to doing their duty. And I think they ran a very fair forum. I think they listened to all the candidates and their views and their positions. And I think they vet the candidates as far as what their accomplishments are and their service in the community. It's humbling for me, even though I've got a pending charge, to get an endorsement from a group like that. I would have completely understood if they said, you know, neither one of you is an incumbent. You don't have a record of supporting law enforcement or voting for pay raises or anything else because you're not incumbents. And with pending charges, we're just going to stay out of that race. I would not have been shocked if they'd done that. I would have understood completely. So for them to come out and offer the endorsement is very humbling for me. And especially because I know when we talk about the concerns of the LGBTQ community with regard to the needs of a better relationship with the city. And I don't know if I've mentioned it on your show before or not, but I know one of the experiences I had, and it wasn't directed at me intentionally, but when the Supreme Court decision came down in 2015, confirming the right for same-sex marriage, there were comments made by someone within a city department that was trying to say, so what next, bestiality? And that was how they looked at it, exactly. And so me as a citizen thinking this is a city employee making this comment publicly on Facebook. And I'm like, now I have to wonder, when I need a city service from this department that this individual works in, am I going to be treated fairly? And are my rights at risk if that's the mentality up there? Especially because it's just back to 14th Amendment, equal protection of the laws. Everybody's got a right. How does that suddenly get into, when we talk about bestiality, we know they're trying to go biblical. Why do we need to go there when it's just about live and let live?
Lordy.
So I'm humbled to have gotten that endorsement. It shouldn't cast any negative light on the Brownsville Police Officers Association or anyone in law enforcement, because I think they're looking at it from the perspective of who's going to take care of the men and women in blue and who's going to serve the city well. And based on my record, and I've worked with them for years as partners with Sombreto Festival, they know my work ethic and they know I stand by what I say and I deliver on what I say I'm going to do. And I'd like to think we've been a good partner with them. Over the years, things have gotten safer. It's a much better event and always family oriented. So very, very humbled to have gotten that endorsement.
Well said. A couple more comments here before we sign off. While David Lee, this is frustrating that people can be closed-minded about personal reference. Roy, if and when I get back to Brownsville, I will fly that flag, and I'm straight, and I'm proud of you, bro. Support. Nicely said. Again, Roy, you handled this like a true professional. I agree. Watch it. I am not a pendejo. Oh, Elizabeth, he was. I don't think Ben. No, he wasn't talking about you. Don't worry about it. Elizabeth is not a pendejo. I promise. I will let my people know, Roy.
Thank you, Ben.
And we did have one more question from Lynn. Will you negotiate with the PUB board not to raise our utility bill over the February freeze? I think that ship has sailed. Mine was not crazy since then. How can you help with this and CAB's appraisal district raising land value?
That's a big concern. I don't like the idea that a board will just go in, and I can't say that it's completely arbitrary or capricious, but a lot of times it seems to defy logic. When somebody sees a huge jump in their property value and they made absolutely no discernible improvements to it, that's a concern. And I really think there needs to be a more onerous process for the appraisal district board to justify raising the values rather than them just putting out a number. And now the citizen has to go hire lawyers or consultants and appraisers to try and refute this new valuation that came out of where. I think the onus should be on the county to prove, the county appraisal district board, to prove and justify that this house in particular, yes, should go up in $10,000, $50,000, whatever the valuation is. Because I've seen some that are just outrageous jumps because of what happened a mile down the road, not because of anything there that happened on that property. And that's a concern, because that puts the burden on citizens, and it creates a financial burden for citizens to try and have to defend themselves. And that shouldn't be the case. We need to rethink that whole process. That's not within our purview, since that's Cameron County and not city, but I believe we have a seat on that board. So that's something we will be looking into, but we need to reprogram how we think and do business in that respect.
All right. Well said. I hope that answers most of your questions. Roy, thanks for being on tonight. Again, sorry, folks. I didn't mean to be. It's a 3-hour show. I'm traveling in just a few hours here, but that never fails. And again, it's in the interest of getting things cleared up. And, I hope it did that. I really do. Some of you guys are not going to be satisfied with certain answers, no matter what. I'm sorry. Or you can message him afterwards or tomorrow. And if you still were not clear on something.
And, there have been folks in the community who have told me the concerns about the Fair Practices Ordinance. I understand the fear, especially with some things that we've seen happen in other cities where people try and push hard left. Take 15 minutes. Let's sit down and have a cup of coffee and get to know me, because you spend any kind of time with me, you'll realize that's not who I am or what I'm about.
And there it is. Roy, I appreciate your time. Thank you. And like I said, you should be thanking me. I said, yeah, let's put him on tonight.
Like I said, the check's in the mail, Manny. Here's my thanks.
Oh, man. Everyone have a great night. Any other additional questions or something we didn't cover that you still want, message me and I will forward it to him. And we'll put that response up, or however that works out. I'll be sure to get that out there. Have a great night, everyone. And next show, I'll let you know tomorrow. I'm traveling tomorrow. I'll be in Miami. I'll be doing some lives from Miami. Not long ones, but I'll just do a little. I got a couple cigars planned in my future. So thank you all for being here. Have a great night. Roy, have a good night.
Good night, Manny.
Everyone, have a good night.